Chat, Long Boy Club, I'm happy to say that after much ballyhoo and much time spent in the doldrums, after toiling for eons in the sweatshops of the Midwestern United States, we finally have an article of clothing that we can be proud of. Observe. I introduce you to the one, the only long hat. My fucking roommate bought this just the other day. It says, "Women fear me, fish fear me, men turn their eyes away from me as I walk. No beast dare make a sound in my presence. I am alone on this barren earth." Long fucking hat, exactly. We are fine. Listen. Now we can finally hang our heads held up high because we have something that we can be proud of, finally, after all this time. Hello, Featherfoot and Dark Raven and Melody Small and Shellspin. I know we have a couple other people in chat too, but hello everyone. How's everyone doing? I'll come up to greet you. Hold on a second. Hold on. Where am I? Zach?
Oh, where are you?
I'm right here. Hello everyone, my name is Giraffe. I'm the president of the Long Boy Club, the very large enjoyer of all things gaming, wrestling, other hyperfixations, and my stinky cat. This is not me, by the way. This is my roommate. Y'all are getting that face reveal in the later half of Never. Unless I have my Lucha mask, in which case there it is. Hi Henry, I got some videos saved on my phone for you. They'll be added in for tomorrow's stream. But yeah, tonight we're gonna be trying something a little different. We're gonna be going into Ponytown, and we're gonna be mostly just. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. This is a glorified chatting stream. This is a glorified just chatting stream, and to help carry the load with me, I guess. I got my good friend, the President Undead, Zachary Taylor, here with me. Hi, Zach.
Hello.
Hi. We're gonna talk about wrestling, and we're gonna talk about Sonic and Fortnite, and maybe ponies as well. Serotonin. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's the stuff. That's what I need after a long day of work. Thank you. Thank you so much. But yeah, that's what's on the agenda tonight. First off, Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I wasn't expecting to watch an hour and a half critique video about.
Zach. Do you see what chat's doing already?
Based on the classic
Let's go!
Super NES game Super Mario Kart, the first Nintendo 64
the video cut off his voice, LMAO. Wait, it cut off his voice.
It combines the
starting off on a high note. I want to make an original one of these with you at some point, chat.
Which either help or hinder each racer.
I genuinely think that would be really fun. I can't hear your co-host. Oh, hold on.
Mario Kart 64
hold on just a second.
A depth in graphics only available with Nintendo 64.
Oh, you know why? It's because I have you in a folder that like mutes all the audio sources whenever it gets plays. I fucking streamlined this stuff, y'all. I streamlined it.
The speed at which Nintendo 64
I streamlined my setup to make it so that now, anytime that Gitsy plays, it mutes most relevant audio sources and most relevant video sources. It's like I don't need to worry about things running too long or things not working as they should.
So they're saying I'm relevant, I should be muted.
You should not be muted, Zach. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm fucking saying, alright?
Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Wario, Bowser.
Let it go on record that is not what I was gonna say, chat.
Mario Kart 64 is fun to play.
No, you are not still muted.
Okay, alright, so before Gitsy played, I could be here, but not while Gitsy's playing.
No, I already, I took you out of the folder that, like, that like gets muted whenever Gitsy plays. So like now you'll be heard no matter what. So
okay. Yeah. Right. I was saying earlier. I was today. I was expecting to watch a hour half long critique video about Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, but here we are.
You know what? I'll watch a video that's like 8 hours long as you make it interesting. You know? I mean, like, there used to be a time where I was like, don't waste my time, but then I watched Quentin Review's 8-hour-long video on a Nickelodeon sitcom that I have rarely seen up until that point. I watched maybe 3 hours worth of content on Victorious, right, in my lifetime. So I spent more time watching Quentin Reviews talk about Victorious than I have watching Victorious. So, in essence, just entertain me, you know?
Well, it's weird because, and the reason this stuff happened to begin with was because earlier today I saw that Lego Star Wars the Skywalker Saga was on sale, so I was like, oh, what are you laughing at?
The hat caught me off guard, chat.
Oh.
a big hat jump scare. Anyways, go on, Zach. Go. Place it back on.
I brought this all up because earlier today I saw that Lego Star Wars: The Complete Skywalker Saga was on sale. Just like, oh, I remember wanting to get this, but I heard no one talk about it. Is it any good? One review or two later, I'm just like, oh, this game. Oh wow, this game kind of sucks. Oh, that's unfortunate.
You know what? I commend them for trying something different. I don't know enough about the game to make any comment on that, but I've seen it played. It's different. So, which is funny considering that the Lego things have like always been the same thing for like 15 years. And then when they finally shake it up, it's just like people don't care, you know? So.
And if you can believe it, it's somehow even easier than the old Lego games. There's literally no platforming in the game.
It's like, oh, so
yeah.
So what you're saying is it's less the Tale of Despero and more Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. because Sonic Boom also barely had any platforming, really.
Well, this one has no platforming, period. All you do is press A button to jump on platform.
Well, isn't that what platforming is? It block part of the chat. Well, yeah, but that would Well, yeah, but that would be funny, you know? Also, Featherfoot, thank you very much for the idea. Give me a second. I'm not gonna dox myself here, but I'm going to mute my screen here while I put this in a Google Doc.
Well, I'll say it like this: there's literally no jump button in the game.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's like no jump button?
There's no jump button. That's what I mean by no platforming. No jump button.
Oh.
A giant gold ring around.
Let's see if you can get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, step on up. Come on. Let's go. Hurry. Oh, you.
I dodged that like it was a Matrix bullet.
You owe me.
Get fucked. Anyways, thank you.
And also, somehow the enemy AI is even more brain dead, where they'll take like 3 seconds to actually fire their shot at you.
Hey there, Bit Gamer. How you doing? Yeah. I mean, like, listen, I will say that like I've not played.
A cool, refreshing sip of water.
Thank you. Also, the tracking on my thing is a little weird today. Oof. I'm missing that Spout 2 plugin. I've been having issues with my fucking OBS lately. But, you know, we're here. It's working. It's working all good. And, hey, chat, you gave me a great idea for this. I will, I'll fucking do it at some point. But yeah, I would like to play the Skywalker Saga at some point, but like, you know, like, just, for one thing, things just keep coming out, you know?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
like, even taking the quality of that, like, out of the equation.
Mhm.
There's just too much. There's, like, way too much to play right now, and I inevitably just end up defaulting back to Fortnite these days.
Oh, oh, the, yeah, so you just remind me another thing about the game. So you know those like lightsaber
Rage chat.
clashes, you know those lightsaber clashes that they like hyped up from the trailer and stuff.
Yeah.
Is in yeah, which
Are they flaccid?
oh yeah, when you do a lightsaber clash, you're supposed to like mash a button to get the upper hand. But if you don't do anything, the enemy will never overpower you
Oh.
with the lightsaber clash.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
So, it's like it's actual baby mode, then?
It's actually mode. It is like actually more actually it's more dumbed down than the actual original trilogy Lego game.
I'm in pain and hopefully chocolate milk will help. Well, you know what? Chocolate milk helps out with
Yes.
most things, I would say. It helps out, like, with most of the world's ailments. If, like, I often tell people, you know, a lot of things, a lot of conflicts in the world would be avoided, especially one-on-one, if most conversations started with, you want to play Fortnite?
Yeah. Yeah.
Much like how most sickness and disease would be eluded. Rather like most sickness and disease and heartache would be averted if we just said, have chalky milk. Have chalky milk, because you epic. So yeah. Let's see here. I'm only hoping it helps mainly because of the chocolate. It's that pain. Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, I thought I could stand out by coloring my my pony, changing it to orange, but most people here are orange. Damn.
Want to play Warhammer Vermintide 2, brother? I mean, we're fucking hanging out in Ponytown tonight. If you're being serious, unfortunately, the answer is gonna have to be no because a little bit preoccupied tonight. But yeah, Zach, you said that you're in the safe server right now.
Yep.
All right.
Because I knew that you were gonna be there.
Cool. Well, yeah.
I'm looking at the mill right now, waiting for you to show up.
Owned since the Ponytown was owed since the G5 game stream. You're right. You're right. And you know what? I'm just joking since I don't play Fortnite. Oh, okay. I didn't get it. Oh, I'm at the beach, I guess. Well, listen, chat. At the end of the G5 game, I said that we would do a raid. This is not what I had in mind, I promise you. I didn't. I wasn't envisioning me just getting on there and sitting on my ass and talking with Zach for 2 hours, right? That was not at all what I was envisioning on.
Hello.
Deep Dust. Hello, Deep Dust. How are you doing? But that is what we're doing tonight. I'll try and do, like, you know, an actual raid, with, Phoenix and the others at some point down the line, but for tonight, this is really just a kind of thing where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be sitting here, I'm gonna be shooting this shit with Zach and y'all. If you want to come and vibe with me, that's fine. If you want to, like, tell me, like, things I can do in this, then feel free to tell me, because, like, I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this. I remember when it was new. Zach.
Same.
Zach, you and I, we were both here when this was brand spanking new, you know?
Yeah, we were. We both joined Ponytown.
Mm-hmm. Ponytown Raid in the future is going to be great. You know what? It will be great. It will be Wait, Melody, did you find Zach already?
Huh?
Did you find Zach? I don't...
Oh.
Yes. Yes! Hold on, Zach, I'm gonna... Did you, like, edit your horse or something?
Yes, I'm orange now.
Oh, you're orange now. Okay. Well, I'll come and find you here in just a second. He is just above spawn. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just above spawn, so it's very easy to spot me.
Oh, well, you know what? I'll probably be in there in just a sec. I remember everyone raving about this game a while back. You know, again, I remember when it came out. I remember when, like, there was basically nothing here. And now when you drop in, it looks like Stardew Valley almost.
Dude, I remember when this was new, and it was just one small screen.
It was one small screen, there was no music, there was nothing to its name. It was like it was like a flat seat in Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
And fast forward like 8 years. Oh,
Yeah. Hey, did you know it's
8 years?
Remember, it's still in beta mode as well.
No.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's been hey, Logan. Hey, Logan, you started. Hey, Logan, you started this game 8 years ago.
Oh. Oh, what was that? What was that, Sonny? I can't hear you.
A gray hair is just coming out of the giraffe right now.
Oh, man. Oh, man. God. I can't believe it. LMAO the... Back in my day, we didn't need a beach to be happy in Ponytown. We just made do with what we had.
Just remember, this game is still in development after 8 years.
Well, you know, I had to imagine that they don't make any money off of this. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna come back up. But chat, I'm gonna tell you, all this is making me feel ill right now. It's all making me feel sick. Just a
Yeah,
little bit.
we're waiting on you. Me and my friends are waiting on you.
Oh wait, they have a Patreon. Okay. Oh. You got a shitload of members here now. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of fucking people there, isn't it? Tall boy too tall. Didn't need a bitch. How lewd. What? They have a Patreon to get support. Back in my day, Lego games had online multiplayer. Wait, they did?
Yeah.
They did? Huh?
That reminds me, Logan. Skywalker Saga does not have online multiplayer.
What?
Co-op.
They regressed then. They like took steps back. Yeah, Complete Saga had online multiplayer. What? Jesus. Actually did a number on my throat, chat. This is where I fucking perish. Chat, farewell. But before I perish, we gotta run an ad to appease Father Bezos, and then we'll get started on this, okay?
Oh my god.
It's
someone
time
actually
for a
made
120 seconds minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
Raw was on this. I can show you my
Someone-
collection of OC edits. Ooh. What?
Someone actually made a rarity.
Oh yeah, like people, I mean, like, you find, you find like versions of the main six and other characters all over the place in this. So, I found-
not rarity, not Twilight.
we got rarity at home.
Yeah.
It's just a bag of marshmallows. Ah, Stay Puffed. Love it.
That Pinkie Pie would be like cotton candy.
No, she'd be the bazooka bubble gum, you know? Or rather, like, Big League Chew, right?
Okay, if the main six were
all candy.
Yeah, the
Hello,
main
Mario.
six were food flavors. What flavor would they be?
I got a notification saying this was an 18+ stream. I mean, like, listen, have you seen how much I swear? Every stream is 18+ within the first, like, 10 minutes, and then Zach comes over here and makes it within the first 10 seconds. So,
Damn right.
yeah, I can show you my collection of OC edits. You know what? Why don't you bring your OC edits? There's a giraffe toy, by the way, you can get on Christmas time. Well, then we need to come back here during Christmas, then. We gotta come back here during Christmas.
In fact,
Nom nom.
Logan.
Oh, excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Hey, welcome back to Raw.
In fact, Logan. Earlier, Jared accused me of something. Just because I like Jiri
Wait, hold on.
from Street Fighter, he thinks I'm into feet. I'm just like, I'm not into feet, Jared.
It's like they're gonna come back out to this. They're gonna come back out to you saying, what was it? Oh yeah, I don't like feet. Welcome back to Raw Chat. I was waiting. I was waiting to say I don't like feet until after the fucking ad was done. Anyways, let's get in here, chat.
Yes, please get in here and like go slightly go up north.
Let's freaking do a thing.
Wait, who's Star Beats?
Where are you? Holy shit.
Okay. Wait. Oh, look, I see you. Go up. Up.
Hey, there you are. You got the orange body and the red torso. Look at you.
Yeah,
That's cute.
this is the friend. This is the friend over here. There she is. See, look.
Hey, Marshall. How are you? Hold on. I'm gonna do this. You. Hey, boop snoot. There you are.
Oh. Wait, how'd you boot?
You have like little keyboard commands on the bottom of the screen. I think you can customize them too. Starbeat is me. I'm a big fan of Starbeat. This is very loud music. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I muted that.
Whoa, it's loud music. There I am, the blue body and the purple mane. Hold on.
What the fuck am I looking? That's not even a pony.
What do you mean?
Up here. Oh wait.
Hold on, I'm trying to find the blue pony. Oh hey, are you quick draw over there?
Yeah, look. Yeah, look right here. This isn't a pony.
That is very much a pony. It's just heavily customized.
Oh.
Its name is Twek. And he does look like what a Twek would look like. He fucking looks like that one kid from South Park.
I would say Twink.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably what they're doing here. They're probably doing that. Oh, so yeah, Purple are creative with how they can customize stuff. Or rather, people are creative with how they customize stuff on here. I'm seeing that. Like, there's a lot you can do on here, honestly. Some of the music reminds me of the Shield's theme slightly. The Shield?
The Shield? Oh, shit.
Oh, boy. Woman right. Dude, even when we're so far away from wrestling as possible, we still talk about wrestling.
You know, we're gonna talk more about wrestling anyway.
Yeah. First off, though, chat, how do I pick things up? Do I... Oh, hey! Hey, I got an orange rose, and I just ate the orange rose.
oh, look, you can change your face.
No, yeah, I know.
Right, look at me.
Hey, I'm happy. I'm a happy guy. Now I'm gonna fly. Woo! Stev, check those requests up there. Oh, Melody sent me one like 3 times. Wait, what's this? What's this right here? Oh, hey, Featherfoot, where are you? Oh, there you are. Look at you go. I added Featherfoot as a friend.
Wait, where are the keyboard commands? I don't see them.
They're supposed to be like on the bottom of your screen. Invite you to a party, Ponytown party. Sure, why not? So like when you're in a party, like what do you do? Is it just kind of like a thing where it's like, all right, well, we're kind of in a group together and you're able to kind of see where everyone is?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Woo. Woo.
Zach.
Woo. What?
Oh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay. Okay. Woo.
So hold on. Can I like eat? Can I like eat this? Like what can I do with this? Oh, I can put it down. Oh, I gotta pick up an item to nom on it. Can I like take items from other people? What the heck are these guys here? Do nom. Oh heck. Yeah. I accidentally put it down. Hold on. There's a custom island. When you are in a party, you horse around. You know what? You're right. Foolish. Very foolish of me to ask. So, you gotta pick up an item. Find an item to nom on it. Where are you finding these roses, Zach? It's on the ground?
Yeah.
Creep Show! With the long boys, girls, NBs, and AGs. Hello there, everyone. Hopefully you had a fun time over in... Mr. Cool with the long boys, girls, NBs, and AGs. Hopefully the raiders at both those streams had a fun time at whatever it was you guys were doing. Can I please get shout-outs for both Creep Show and Mr. Cool? For those of you who are unaware, my name is Giraffe. I'm the president of the Long Boy Club, the very large enjoyer of all things gaming, wrestling, other hyperfixations, and my stinky cat. Tonight, I am showing that I have never used a big chat room like this before, because I do not know like what all there is to do. So chat is kind of holding my hand through this a little bit. They're kind of holding my hand through it a little bit as I kind of get my bearings on what all is what here. So,
it's not working?
what?
Exclamation mark SO, right?
You typed. You need to like get rid of like the decibels at the end.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, you typed in her name like with the decibels. So.
Whoops.
Rather with the colon.
There we go.
Colon, I mean. Colon. I know English, kind of.
There. Oh, Fortnite.
I know my symbols. Nice. Go check out Creepshow at, I don't know why, like, the command isn't working. Tremendous amount of gaming happening here. There is, yeah, look at this. This is very poppin'.
Wait, who did you also want me to shout out?
I want you to shout out Mr. Cool. Hello! Hello, everyone. Jeez, this is... I'm taking the flower. I have the flower. It's right here. It's right here. Mr. Cool, thanks for following. You're now a member of the Long Boy Club for life. I'm gonna nom on this now. Yum, 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 yum.
Oh, they were also playing Fortnite.
What do you guys think of the mosaic stuff?
Hello, Mario.
Hey,
oh,
Devin. I was giving you one, but you got one, LMAO. Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's Long Boy Club meeting, and where we just kind of sit and vibe in Ponytown a little bit.
Yep, as we chat.
Honestly, I like this. You got McDonald's OC over there. And then you got, Willy Wonka, not from Scotland, hopefully, over here. That whole saga is something I want to learn more about, because it's just completely... We were gooning in Family Guy prop hut. That sounds awesome. You want to see the island? Yes, I do want to see the island. Take me to the island. Hate to raid a run, but I'm nodding off, lol. Catch you nerds later. We love you. We love you too, Creepshow. Thank you. What's that? It's the unknown! Listen, I took that video. I'm gonna take attention away from this for a second. Alright? Just like, I saw the unknown, and the only thing I could think of was to post this. Hold on. Was to post me rising from the screen to say hello to my chat at the start of every single stream.
What is that? It's the unknown.
Oh my god.
It's incredible. Someone made a Far Cry 5 custom level of Willy Wonka, Scotland. There is also a VR chat realm of it now too. Of course there is. Of course there's VR chat of this fucking fucked up thing here. Listen.
Because why wouldn't there be?
Yes, of course. Why wouldn't there be? Even the Sea of Thieves Twitter account was dunking on it. It's so easy to dunk on, though. Listen. Every 2-bit hack creative that doesn't have a creative bone in their body, they want to do horror, right? But you will never get more scary than the end product of people just not giving a fuck. you know?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
everything here was determined via AI. The script, the promo material, the fucking set here, this was all AI. This is all like either determined by AI or generated by AI.
Ugh.
It is the perfect it is the end result of people just wanting to do something big whilst putting in zero effort to actually make something big. And that is kind of the scary part in and of itself. The fact it comes out as cursed as it does is just the icing on top. So
Mhm.
exactly, the fucking end times are upon us. A paradise of
Mhm.
sweet treats, to be sure. Of sweet teats. I don't want the sweet teats from here, dude. I don't think I want that. That's bad news. Anyways, apparently you're giving me an item. Is it more roses? Woo! I just realized out of this little group, only one of us can't fly. Oh yeah, that's right. Hey, Zach.
Yes.
You're stinky. You're on the ground.
Mhm.
You're on the
Oh,
ground. You're on the ground.
I'm stinky. Huh? Arrgh. Look at me, all mad.
Look at this salty spittoon here. So upset that he doesn't have the winged nature to be up here with the cool kid club. A cat.
You're just like the Rainbow Dash bullies.
I am, though. I am. But listen, I'm the cooler Rainbow Dash brony because, or rather pony, because I know a wrist lock or two. Because I'm Shining Wizard, and I'm a future world champion in the making. As you can see. Now watch as I bulk up by eating flour. Look at this, I can even laugh at you. Look at this. You know what? I'm gonna do that some more.
Look at me all sad now.
Let's. Hey everybody. Zach was born without wings and can't get off the ground. Let's all point and laugh at his humiliation. Or we can boop him too. It's also good. I mean, in a way, they're right. The fucking creator of the event blamed technical difficulties for the event going awry. AI is the tech difficulty, dude. It really is just the tech difficulty. Trying to get into a position that it looks like petting.
Yeah.
Is that, like, also part of the game's challenge? Just getting into position to try and do shit?
I'm turning my head away from you.
Fine, you know what? I didn't want to pet you anyway. I wanted to pet Featherfoot. Featherfoot. Here, take... Here. Everyone's always giving me head pats. It is now my turn. Take my head pat. If I can line myself up properly with you. Shit.
I'm walking with a purpose.
With the flower in your hand. You can sneeze and yawn. There's so many animations. What the fuck? I know! Dude, this started back in, like, 2016. This is so 2008 core. It is, though! You know, listen, chat. Chat. I may be one of the only people here that remembers that this existed. But have any of you ever... What? What now?
Along with me.
Along with you. Oh, hey, is that one of your other OCs, Melody? Featherfoot, are you trying to type something in chat? Because all I'm getting is 6 stars out of you, bud. No, chat. Have you ever heard of Nictopia? Have you ever heard of that?
Nope.
No? Good
Nope.
lord. Okay. So like Nictopia...
I think I was a little too old for that.
You probably were. So like... Because like it was a 2008/11 thing, right? And it was... And what it essentially was it was Club Penguin, but for cooler kids. And those cooler kids were Nick kids. And I was a Nick kid. So...
Yeah. I was like 14 when that came out.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have links allowed. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't have them allowed. But what are you trying to post? What are you trying to post? I keep them here just to, I'm gonna keep, rather keep the community safe and kind of keep myself safe so I don't click on anything malicious. Clip
Wait, where'd you
links.
go? Where'd you go,
Wait,
Logan?
it blocks clip links?
Oh.
Ah.
Whoa. Wait, where'd you go, Logan?
That whole thing, I'm right over here, Zach. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of this patch of land. The
Oh.
only thing, you know what that reminds me of, chat? The whole thing about Twitch blocking its own links. Guy. Gun at himself meme.
Oh my god.
It makes me think of this. It makes me think of this shit. Trust no one, not even yourself. That really is just what Twitch is doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're being this guy, who, funnily enough, Zach, he kind of looks like Nelson if he was like 15 years younger, honestly.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
looks little Nelson core there. The fucking Oompa Loompa. There's a lot of creative.
Oh no, 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 no! You know what he reminds me of?
What?
He reminds me of he reminds me of young Elliot from some Call Me Johnny's videos.
Oh, from the fucking SGB stuff?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a name I
Yeah.
haven't heard in a long time. Follow me to chill vibes. Okay, okay, we're gonna follow Melody here. We're gonna follow them to the chill vibes. Because honestly, this is a little bit too freaky for me. I'm hoping that Feather and Bit haven't stopped following us. Oh my gosh. Ah!
Yeah, this isn't chill at all. Oh.
This is very much... And with that, I lost her. Oh! Oh, we have to get on the boat.
Get on the boat, Logan. Get on the boat.
I'm trying. So, like... It's like, do I just click on it? Oh!
No, you just go up to it.
Hey!
Chill over here.
Woo! Okay. Cool.
Hey, it's so peaceful over here. It's so peaceful over here. Now we can talk about topics all we want.
I know.
No one to bother us.
Oh, I get it. So like when you're in a party, you can go to like these little huts and stuff, rather like these little This is just Stardew Valley here. This right here is literally just a home that you would see in Stardew. Look at this. We'll go over here and we'll discuss our favorite wrestlers. Mine is Butterfree. This looks better than Stardew, not even gonna lie. It kinda does, though. It kinda does.
Actually, look at it. I take it back. This is perfect for stream topics now. Just us sitting across from each other talking.
Yes! Yes, exactly. Like, you know what? I almost want to just, like, zoom in on this. And just have it be, like this is the setting, right? Just, like, us kind of hanging out. And are those fitness balls? Hold on. Oh, no, I can't get on them. Dang it.
Damn.
Okay, well. They're lanterns. Oh, they're Oh! Oh! Oh, I thought they were like yoga balls for a second. I was thinking that there were like yoga mechanics in this for a second. They were cooking with this one. They really were, though. They actually were. This is actually like sick as hell. Wait. They do look like yoga balls. See, I told you. I told you. It's perfect for when Shining Wizard needs to prep for a match, chat. He just comes over here into his little hidey hole and he like a true dumbass, uses the lanterns to help himself work out because he thinks they're yoga balls. Thanks, Wi-Fi. Wait, the pastry's on the table. Oh my lord. Wait, where? Oh! Wait, can I grab one of them? Hold on. Yeah, I can! Hey, I can grab a pastry. I can nom on it, too.
I ate my item. I ate my flower.
You friggin' ate your item.
Yep.
This is so cute!
Uh-huh,
Zach, this is actually incredibly cute. I love
it
this.
is.
You know, all kinds of shit that you can do here.
Man, it's come a long ways from 8 years.
I know, right? Again, we remember, like, listen, chat, I may be like 24, right? I'm not that old, right? But like, me and Zach were here when this launched. So, so the fact that it's come this far is actually pretty, like, incredible. This is,
Right,
this is
like you
big
said
props
before,
to them.
like we said before, chat. Before it was just one small screen.
Yep. It was just a tiny screen. Oh!
Cool.
Well, yoga time. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Love how all the lights slowly came on. I know. It's actually really peaceful. But what came before was Legends of Equestria MMO. I remember that.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like the 3D one?
Yep, it was.
What happened to it?
I don't know. Is it even still a thing?
I hear people like talk about it every now and then, but it's been like ages since it's like, what is this? Is this the crystals?
Crystals.
Of course.
Mhm.
Oh. Also, I'm happy for Toys for Bob going indie. I think that's really cool. I'm excited to see like what they end up making now that they're not under Activision anymore, because I feel like if they stayed under Activision, things would be much different. So
I do know that they still want to work with Microsoft. So which honestly means that's maybe a big brain play right there.
yeah, exactly. Like just like get under, rather just get the fuck out of one publisher. But lucky for you, that publisher is owned by someone else, which, you know, the more studios that Activision, or rather Microsoft, buys, I feel like the worse off we'll be. But that's besides the point. The point is that it's really cool. Wait, is Poke MMO still a thing? What now? I do not remember what you're talking about here, Mr. Cool. Hold on, I need to revert back.
But no, that honestly might be a big brain play by Toy Survivor. Just like, well, we want to work on Trash, but we're under Activision, so I'm gonna go independent and talk to Microsoft about partnership again.
You know what? Maybe they could make some rare stuff. Why not? I don't know. Oh, sorry. Complete tangent. No, it's fine. It's fine. I remember when they first implemented water, there was a trick to walk on it when it looked like ice. Can you still do that when it's ice? Or is that just like an invisible wall? Look at this. This is so cute. When it's ice, you can walk on it. Okay. This reminded me that there was a fan-made Pokemon MMO that required a ROM to play, and I figured it died, but no, it's still up. Fans are really committed to this stuff, dude. I remember, like, okay, chat, I might be unlocking a memory for you, but has anyone ever played Fusion Fall?
No, but I really, really wanted to play at one point.
Remember that? Remember Fusion Fall? I remember. There are fans that are still keeping it alive these days with, like, fan-made servers.
Looking for you. Fusion Fall was the original live service game.
It was the original. No. The original live service game was fucking Toontown. That was the original live service game for me. That was the first MMO I ever played, and you know what? I played it again recently, and it is good for kids. For a 24-year-old man, it's it leaves a little bit to be desired, frankly. It also doesn't help that I'm not really a Disney kid, so
Hey,
Yeah.
do you want me to unlock another live service memory? It's technically live service.
Yeah.
The Cartoon Network live service game. Foster Zone for Imaginary Friends.
Oh, I
House
fucked with that.
Party. Yeah.
I fucked with that so hard. Now that's probably like deader than dead. Wait. Auto sleep. Oh wait. Oh. Oh, Zach, you fell asleep, I think.
Oh yeah, I did.
I don't think he wants to
Is-
talk about wrestling, chat.
I'm like,
Oh, hey, Zach, you just, hey, you just caught me talking about Swerve Strickland for 3 hours straight. I'm glad that you could join me.
anyway, stream topics.
I mean, like, hold on a sec, hold on. You guys wanna, like, take us to the mines real quick? And then we'll kind of, take on, like, other, topics?
Yeah, because there's one topic I really want to get into.
You caught me talking about how WrestleMania 9 is the best WrestleMania of all time.
Surely, oh,
I'm falling back.
Surely you jest. Surely you jest.
And Zach's like, I'm falling the fuck back asleep. Mine's time real quick, and then we'll talk about other shit, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm on my way. Ah, it's bright outside.
Yeah, exactly. It's so bright. Ah, Jesus. It's like, do we go to the other boat here, then?
Wait, where's everyone? Where do I go?
I think you need to go to the other boat, Zach. The other boat, right over here.
Here, here down
No?
south?
No? Hold on. I'm trying to find our friends. Where are you?
Oh god.
Mom, please come pick me up. I'm scared.
I can't find you, Logan.
This is not where wrestling is happening, Zach.
Oh, so this is what WrestleMania looks like with the crowd.
This right here is what Ford Field looked like the first time we went to it.
Yeah.
I'm at the end of the docks. Oh. Wait, I found Sonic and Tails. Over here.
Wait, that's on the docks on the left side?
On the left side, or
there
maybe
you are,
on
Logan.
the other side.
Oh, I found Flynn Flam up there.
Oh, hey, I found them. Okay,
I'm following.
East. West. I love this, like, marching music. Great migration.
Okay.
Following them, we're following. But yeah, Toontown is very much cheeks.
Oh, right, I was gonna
nostalgic.
say about Foster's. Yeah, well, you're not wrong. That with Foster's, that game is Deader and Dead because the online service for that was offline like over a decade ago.
I guess no one really bothered to keep them up.
More like they decided to end it after the show ended.
Hello.
Although recently someone was able to get the reason there was a fan made project to make that go back online. At least the 1.0 version.
What the hell?
What? What? That looks like
what is that? It's the unknown.
No, this is the screen face.
No, like this right here, this reminds me of like the one face in like the Sonic CD extras, you know?
Oh yeah, that.
It is the unknown. No, hey. That's actually incredible. That guy's camping there. Ready for that shit. It's great.
Wow, these mines go on for a while.
It's like Minecraft. This really is just like Stardew, though. Because listen, Stardew has docks, mines, they're completely the same.
Wait, Logan, you know where we are? we're in that cave where Pinky and Maud go to find rocks.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
expand the rocks.
yeah. You're right. You're right though.
Yeah.
You're actually like entirely right on that.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a Fallout version named Ashes Town. Oh, what? Oh, what? Like in the servers here? Oh yeah, that server. Well, listen, I'm fine with like being in the baby mode, safe, safe for little Timmy's server tonight. So it's separate from Ponytown. Oh, okay.
I'm gonna see what else is in mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk around a little more. Shiny Wizard's gotta get more steps in for his training.
Oh, look at this! Look at you,
Hey, Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bird. No.
Mr. Bird. Literally, no one in chat is gonna get that probably.
No.
The Simpsons virtual Springfield is it's a treat.
Hello,
Mario.
Hi, Lizard Snow. How are you? Welcome to tonight's Long Boy Club meeting. Well, these mines were like a lot smaller than I thought they'd be.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, this is really cool. I like this. This is very, very cute. This is a very cute and fun experience. Sandy. Okay. I'm starting to see the appeal between this guy and this guy. I'm seeing the appeal of Ponytown.
From what I thought you were talking about Sandy cheeks. I gotta clap those cheeks.
I mean, these fucking cheeks here, they're pretty sandy now. Alright? They're pretty sandy now. Shit rules. I would honestly hang out in this LMAO. Shit rules. It is! It actually is really cool. My friend Raven in house, Giraffe what game? I am on Ponytown, my friend. Sadie.
Dude, I would actually love to have that hut.
That hut?
Yeah, the hut we were in.
Yeah. Well, I think you can go to it, like when you're in
Hello,
a group
Mario.
and no one's gonna follow you over there. Hey,
No,
Darren,
no.
what's up? It's been a while since I've seen you.
No,
Hopefully you're good.
No, I mean a hut like that IRL.
Oh. Well, yes, I would
Yeah.
like that too, especially by the lakeside. That'd be
Mhm.
nice. Anyways, is there like any other private areas or is it just the hut? Because while we're chatting, what the fuck? Whoa. Now this is where you go and have food before you go on a hunt in Monster Hunter. What the heck is this?
Wait, let's check if you look at. Oh, there you are.
Right here, Zach. I'm right here.
Oh yeah.
That's me, Steph. Accept my friendship. I accept. You know what, Darren? Always. I'll always accept it. Hopefully you're doing well. This is so cool, though. This right here is literally just like where you get like fucking geared up and have a meal in Monster Hunter. This is incredible.
I thought you were gonna say Stardew again.
Agent Toad with the Long Boys, Girls, NBs, and AGs.
Hello,
Thank you
Mario.
very much. Oh, wait. You're Sadie. You're Sadie. Oh. Cool. But, hi, Fungus Force. Hopefully you had a good stream. My name's Giraffe Steph. I'm the president of the Long Boy Club. Very large enjoyer of all things gaming, wrestling, other hyperfixations, and my stinky cat. Tonight, we are playing Ponytown with friends, and we're just kind of going around. We're seeing what's what. Me and Zach would like to talk about wrestling at some point, but we keep getting sidetracked.
Let's go back to the hut so we can have an actual chat.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I keep... You know what? No. I'm not really that sorry, but, like, I will admit that I keep getting sidetracked by, what's that? What's this? Whoa. Because, I'm not gonna lie, it's just so cool. This is actually incredible. Yeah, we'll go over here and we'll kind of have a... We'll sit down a little bit. Hey, buddy, is this actual server still run? Is it fan-made? It's always been fan-made, buddy. It's always been fan-made.
I'm just gonna go in the house and sit down.
Okay.
Hello, Mario.
Hey, Hey, Roomy Zoomy Loomy. We have a whole bunch of people here right now, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm missing anyone here, but hold on just a second. I will admit though, wait. Are you a furry? I would say I'm a furry, yes. Hey buddy, is this... Yeah, like it is all fan-made. This has been going since 2016, and it's actually crazy to see how far it is. Anyways,
Also,
Zach.
Agent Tail has been streaming Skyward Sword HD.
Nice. Hopefully you're having fun with that, dude.
Mhm.
So yeah, this, and now, Zach,
Yes.
it's time to talk about wrestling.
Let's go!
It's time to talk about wrestling. And you know what? Here's the thing. Feather and Bit Gamer and Melody, if you want to just kind of dip out from like this point forward, I'm not going to be upset. But me and Zach are just going to sit here for a bit and we're going to fucking talk a little bit. All right? Lumi just came in with the Ray. They really did. They really did. But yes. Wait, what? Yes, serious wrestling. Fuck yeah, dude. So, it's serious. Listen, this right here is the most serious thing of all time because me and Zach are going to be going over... Stev, go screw a giraffe. What?
Huh?
I'm sorry? Huh?
Go screw a giraffe? What?
No. I don't want that. I want this. I hope you mean like screw one into like a plank of wood. I mean, that would hurt it quite a bit, but like, you know, I could imagine like a giraffe being a good like screw and bolt. Yeah, no. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, my friend. I'm not doing that. That's bad news right there. That's bad news.
Bad news.
Use it as a screwdriver. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I would do that. I'd do that. Giraffes are multi-purpose tools. Giraffes are multi-purpose beings. They can be whatever they want to be in life. Anyways.
Even a robot.
Even if they are a robot, even if they are an organic being, they can be whatever they want in this life. They can be whatever they want. Did have fun with Skyward Sword, by the way, going back to its fun. Absolutely, my friend. But yeah, we're gonna be chatting wrestling from this point on, so I don't want to sound mean, but sorry, not sorry to to people that don't really understand what we're talking about. I'll try and give a little bit of context as we go throughout, but essentially we are gonna go over the Wrestling Observer Newsletter's 2023 awards, I believe, right?
Yeah. Logan, you'll explain what the Wrestling Newsletter Awards actually are.
Okay, so the Wrestling Observer Newsletter, in like a 1 minute or less explanation, it is essentially a long-running wrestling news source that's been going on ever since the 1970s. It's headed up by one David Meltzer, and he has been very active in wrestling journalism ever since at least like ever since like
80s.
Yeah, like ever since at least the 80s. He has been in the game for as long as probably many of us have been alive, if not longer. So his word holds a lot of weight, and by extension, the people that he works with also hold a lot of weight. Even if you disagree with him, the pedigree that he has, it means that he kind of carries a lot of weight and just kind of, you know, the more journalistic side and taste-making side of wrestling. And nowhere is that more exemplified than in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards of this year. There are a lot of categories. A few of them are kind of new, and we'll be going through all of them. Also, these are very, very, very cute OCs. Hi, Phoenix. Right there.
For the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards, they're also aren't they like voted on by people as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all voted on by viewers as well. Rather like by subs to the newsletter.
Yeah, the PLRs. Yeah, and you know you know you're really into the wrestling stuff. Subscribed to the newsletter, the Wrestling Observer newsletter.
Essentially, yes. Also,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll boop this one. I like this one.
BS chat. I will be going over all the newsletter awards, bunch of different categories, and they all have they show who got the top 3 in the votings for each category.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
WWE. Yeah, exactly. What? Yeah.
No, you go
So
first.
yeah. Start us off, Zach. Start us off.
All right. So first off, I know there's a few but I'll go one by one. First we have Wrestler of the Year, aka the Ric Flair Award.
Okay. Already starting off with me begrudging, but either way, that's besides the point. Let's see him.
All right. So, third place with okay. Well, essentially, I think it means
You can just go like third, second, first place. You don't need to like give like raw fucking numbers of who voted for what. So.
Right. Well, yeah. All right. Third place was MJF. Second was Cody, and first was Will Ospreay.
Will Ospreay makes a lot of sense. He has been. He's done a lot like over the past year alone to like really improve his craft, and I think that he's like proved a lot of his critics wrong. One of them being me. I do think that he is just as good as people say he is. He just has such a knack for like ring psychology and knowing when to pick his spots, and I feel like at this point he can have a good match with just about anybody, whether it's someone like Kenny Omega that's more like on the storytelling aspect, or someone like Josh Alexander, who is much more focused on like being like super proficient in the ring. Like Josh Alexander, for context, he's probably one of my favorite wrestlers right now. I just really enjoy his vibe. A lot of people at one point considered Gable Steveson the next Kurt Angle, when they didn't know that the next Kurt Angle was already in TNA for like 5 years before then. I do think that Josh Alexander is just that good, but that's besides the point.
Well, one thing to note, I'm sure you'll be sad by this, but not surprising. There's no TNA love at all in the awards this year.
That's actually sad, because like
Nothing beats a
Cool, refreshing sip of water.
Hello. All right, I need a drink. Also, hi Ruby.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, that's sad.
Ow. But yeah.
There's one exception with something getting a third place award thing, but that's about it.
Stampede!
Jesus Christ! Max, well, Flyway with the Long Boys, Girls, NBs, and Age.
Mario.
Jeez, hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's
Mario.
meeting. For those of you who are unaware, holy shit! For those of you who are unaware, my name's Giraffe. I'm the president of the Long Boy Club, very large enjoyer of all things gaming, wrestling, other hyperfixations, and my stinky cat. Tonight, we're talking about
Life. Life.
Ah! Oh my god! Zach, is this what they mean?
For life.
This right here is what they mean when they say get loved nerd. Holy fuck.
For
Get loved, nerd. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna shout them out.
You're now everyone that just followed, you're now members of the Long Boy Club for life. Let me get your names.
And they were playing speaking of wrestling, they were playing 2K23.
Ooh, oh yeah, that's right, because Maxwell has like his own fed that he runs. He has his own fed that he runs. I hope that you had a good return stream, man. I know that's something you wanted to fucking do for quite a bit now. Thank you for all the new follows. Jesus. I'm sorry, Zach. We'll get back to it here in a second. Thank you to Lily, The Art of Villainy, Hikari, Drake, Ninja, Athena, and Ella. Jeez. Give love to this raft. Jesus. Oh. Chance.
I can't handle the love.
Long Boy Club. For fucking life. No. This. Oh my god. Chat. How am I expected to recover? How am I expected to recover after this?
Please.
With serotonin, of course.
Yeah, duh.
Thank you. And, oh man. Thank you so
Nothing
much.
beats a
Cool, refreshing sip of water.
Jeez. Yeah, water will also help. Now I gotta give these raiders a real well. Oh no! Melody! Oh, yes! My fucking dog!
Oh my god, can't see it. This is the kind of shit I would do.
I'm glad we have. It's Toy Story!
Nintendo game ever from Disney Interactive is Toy Story. When you pop in this game,
The first thing you notice is poor etching on
the
Woody.
main character of the movie and the character you control in the game.
Ooh, we got 7 minutes, Chad!
And the instruction
Oh,
booklet
boy.
says the game's graphics
All
were
7
created
minutes.
with the same 3D computer models that were used in the making of the blockbuster movie. We don't know, however, if the game actually used silicon
Is this just the
graphics
whole video? It is the whole video.
we suspect they were only used for
I
character
got-
animation,
I
because the
got like
backgrounds do not have the
21
detailed
different
quality
videos,
graphics
and this is
Donkey
one
Kong
of them.
rendered. As any good devoted game
I need to
player
make it
knows,
so that this
Donkey
only
Kong
appears
was
like
created
1% of the
with
time.
graphics computers and doesn't have edging problems. What's even more strange
No-
is
no
that
edging
Woody is the
problems.
only character with edging problems. All the other characters look
He
great.
spent so
The game's
long on
graphics
this
involve
chat.
advertisers of
On-
intensely
it's on
3D
the
experience.
edging.
But that statement is a bit misleading because the gameplay, although varied, is often two-dimensional. One question still remains.
This is like when me
Why
and
does
Zach
Disney
talk about
Interactive
anything
use
on
silicon
stream.
graphics computers for the entire game?
We just
Were they
spend too
expensive?
long on one
I don't think
thing.
so.
Are you
Come on.
edging or
Big
are you
Disney is one of the
gooning?
richest
Yes.
corporations in the country. Let's get real here.
Wait, are you saying we
The
spent
only
too long
explanation we can
wrestling?
think of is that Disney Interactive
I'm not
did
saying
use
that. I'm
SGI
saying that we spend too long on one
graphics could not
aspect
be
and then we
handled
don't
by the
move on.
Genesis for the Genesis version. Maybe that's why the
Holy
game is nowhere
fucking
near as many colors
shit.
and detailed graphics as Donkey Kong.
Guys, I'm
However,
sorry, but I
even that
gotta play an
explanation
ad
doesn't
because
seem
Bezos
plausible
is making me
because
do
Disney
it.
would have to be insane to
Sorry.
pass up the chance of
It's
creating
time
another
for a
Donkey Kong country.
120 seconds minute
Besides, the
Cheetos
Genesis
break my
version
dude.
and
Raw
Super
rolls on
NES
after
versions
this.
don't have to be exactly the same. So what's
Pretty
the big deal?
spectacular first
Disney
impression,
has
not
tried to
gonna
make another
lie.
Donkey Kong country,
The
but
Gitsy.
unfortunately, they blew it. Another thing that confuses us is Disney's
Long
marketing
Boy is
strategy.
overwhelmed. I
Since
actually
Pocahontas
am a
appeared
little
in the theaters
overwhelmed.
before Toy
I
Story,
don't know-
Why did the Toy Story video game come
I don't
out
know what to
before
make
the
of this.
Pocahontas game? Perhaps the Pocahontas game is being saved until the movie is released on video for some sort of joint marketing strategy. The last negative
there a
thing we have to
Pocahontas
say about
video
this
game?
is about the play control.
Was
On the
there?
third level, players will start foaming at the mouth when they can't jump
Pocahontas.
up to the rope at the top of the screen. No matter how fancy you get in trying to bounce off the ball and up to the rope, you will most likely not reach the
yeah,
dog. This kind of play control
yes.
flaw is inexcusable.
Okay.
Since Disney should have noticed it.
It was on.
Realistically, you could end up
It was
trying
on
20
Sega
times to get
Genesis
Woody
and
to
Game
grasp that
Boy.
stupid rope before you
Oh.
actually get it. You might get so mad at Toy Story that you may want to slam Doom
In
into
1996.
and take out your anger by shooting a bunch of evil aliens.
Wow.
Then again, Doom is an extremely
This was
difficult
after the
game,
Saturn
so it
came out.
might
This was
just make the
2
problem
years
worse.
after the
You might
Saturn
think we come
dropped.
down hard on Toy Story.
And they were still making these games for
It's a shame though that the
for-
outstanding gameplay
for the
quality
Genesis.
resulting from the
For the poor
developers' hard
Genesis.
work is masked by the impossibly high
Gitsy
challenge
returns
level.
to me.
Toy Story is too difficult, like The Lion King. Fortunately for you though, we've discovered 2 awesome ways to
I don't know,
cheat in
George.
Toy
I don't know
Story.
if anything can be as
In the
difficult as
first
the
level,
Lion King
bounce
video
off the
game,
first beach ball
apparently.
you see and land on the bottom drawer of the dresser on the right. Duck down until the sheriff's star icon starts.
I mean, he
spinning
thinks
in
that
the upper
Bubsy's
left
good,
corner
so
of the
he's
Nom
not.
nom. Oh, excuse
Next,
me, we're
get
back,
on top
my
of the
dudes.
dresser where you'll find the bucket of toy
Back.
soldiers. Stand on top of the
Actually, we're
bucket,
not back
then
yet. We
press
got 30
down
more
while waiting
seconds.
for the lid to move
Oh,
10 times.
I just
Wait.
haven't
At this
changed.
point, the stage
I haven't
select is
changed like
activated.
the.
To skip any stage
I haven't
at any
changed the
time,
trigger
just
yet, to
press
be
start,
accurate.
Followed by select.
How
You can't win
dare
Toy
your
Story
son lies
without
to me
cheating,
then?
and this cheating brings victory much too quickly to warrant spending your money. People don't
I can't believe he's still
$60 on a
doing
game
that
they
from
know they
like
can
the
beat.
surgery
With
office.
that in mind, one wonders
I
why
sadly gotta
companies release
work tomorrow,
game
so
codes
I
and
shall
stage
take my leave. Have a
selects.
great rest of the
Video game
evening and
buying has
stream.
become too
Thank
much
you,
a game.
Soulstone.
No pun
Welcome back to
intended.
Raw.
The game is about finding a game that's not too hard.
Chat,
but
I'm not gonna
finding
lie,
it
I'm
easy.
actually like
Codes and other
a
cheats
little
make games easy
overwhelmed.
and not worth buying.
I'm a little bit
There's no way to tell
overwhelmed.
if a game will
Thank
last,
you.
or if a code
Thank you
will be
so
released
much.
that makes it yesterday's
Maybe I
news.
don't want to be
There is,
popular.
however, one last bastion. Role-playing games like Chrono Trigger and Final
Be
Fantasy
overwhelmed,
III.
nerd. I'm
These
good.
games will never fail you as far as challenge goes, but the potential
I almost
for
don't
these
even want
games
to talk
become
during
interactive
this, but like I'm
movies has
afraid
yet
if
to be
I do, then
realized.
people will start
With the
leaving.
Nintendo Ultra 64, however, that will surely change. Some
Stay
of you may have
flustered
seen
and
screenshots
awkward.
of Toy Story and thought the graphics
Sure,
were poor.
sure thing.
Indeed,
Sure
screenshots
thing.
do
I
not
can do
represent
that,
the game
Chief.
well. Seeing the game in motion may actually impress you. Although Toy Story's
Is it
graphics
impressing
aren't
you,
perfect,
chat?
They are pleasant looking, and
Is seeing the
gameplay
game in motion
refreshing.
impressing
In the
you?
first level, for example,
No,
you
not
have to let
really.
the toy troops out of their
Are you
bucket.
stupid,
Stand
Zach?
next to the bucket and press A.
You
Then
know,
listen.
you know what's actually impressive? Toy Story.exe.
A perfect soundbite.
That's
from the movie.
Sonic.exe?
Too bad that's one of the few in the entire game.
Yeah.
Your chore
I
doesn't end
can't,
there, though. Once
like,
you've dispersed
a
the troops,
decade ago,
you'll
there
knock
was
the
like a
walkie-talkie off the shelf by
Toy
standing
Story.exe
next
Are you
to it
kidding
and
me?
pressing A.
Yeah.
No
With these
shit.
gra-
To the floor,
Yeah,
so the
these
troops can carry it
graphics.
downstairs and set up their recon post.
With these
Next, head right
graphics?
to the walkie-talkie
Uh-huh.
that Woody will
That's
use to
awesome.
communicate with the troops. In
Question,
this-
why is Zach's
games.
avatar
All the
Zachary
toys back where they
Taylor?
were before Andy gets
Well, because he's the
upstairs and
president.
them out of place. Knock the
There,
blocks out of the pig's
look,
way so
there
he
is
can get
not
down to
one,
the
not
floor.
two, but
Get on the
3
pump
Toy
and get ready to jump
Story.exe
on it when the pig
games.
walks by so that you
3?
can boost him into the toy
Yeah,
chest.
3.
That's
Repeat
4
this
more than there
process
should
with the
be.
little toy robot, then do the same for Rex. The
That
wimpy
makes
but
no
lovable
sense.
green dinosaur. Hey, at least he isn't Barney.
At least he isn't
Next,
Barney,
knock the rest
chat.
away with your pull string by pressing A to free the action figure toy named Biff. Speaking of action figures, take a look at this one. It's a
This
takeoff of
statue.
Bronca from Street Fighter 2. Also notice the similarities to other Street Fighter characters on the package design.
Completely off
We caught these
topic.
guys ripping off Capcom. Anyway, let's get back
I feel
to
like
Toy
I never
Story.
even comprehend
Once
a
Biff
big
is
raid,
free,
honestly.
you'll push the button
LMAO.
over to
You know
the
what,
brain.
Mr.
The
Cool?
crank
At
will
least
then
you and I
raise
are
the
on the
bucket
same
so
page
remote
about
control
that.
race car can pass
I can't
underneath.
even
Yeah,
comprehend
The car will
this.
get back in their place
You know,
under
this
the
reminds
bed.
me of
So
Logan.
all that's
It
left
reminds
for
me
you is
when
to
you
get in your
got
place,
we
which
got
is on the bed.
big
Do
rated
that, and the level
during
will
the
end. Next, you
original
must
Resident
battle a
Evil 4
nightmare version of
stream.
Buzz Lightyear. Hit him on
Also,
his
Zach,
face shield
apparently
with
you
your pull
disappeared
string
from
while
Ponytown.
avoiding Buzz's lasers.
Oh, I
Buzz
did?
will warn
Yeah,
you
I think
before
you
he shoots a
disappeared.
laser,
Also,
so be
this
sure to
is
listen
I
carefully
did.
for his
another very cute
egotistical
OC.
taunting. As for the rest of the game,
Oh, I
we
have been.
a
What?
few general
It's
hints
just
for
because
you.
I'm in another
First
tab
of
for too
all,
long?
collecting stars helps you stay alive.
think so.
So even though the task is boring, do
Remember
it.
when hating Barney
Second,
was a
read the
personality
messages
trait?
put up on
Yeah,
the
and then it
Etch-a-Sketch
became
before
that
each
Justin
level.
Bieber
It
hating
tells
was
you
a
what to do.
personality trait.
Third, don't try to rush through the third
Several
level to
years
beat
later.
Buzz Lightyear. You'll never win. After all, he is a space ranger, or at least he thinks he is. Lastly,
Bro-
I'm back
we
here.
recommend seeing the movie
Bro
first
tipped
so you
when
don't
the
have to
Toy
read all the
Story
boring
came to
text in
town.
between stages. Bottom line, when all is said and done, Toy Story has better
Very
gameplay
uncharacteristic
than
of
either
Zach,
the Donkey
honestly.
Kong
Usually
Country
he's
games,
like down
and
for
players
this
should
sort
even
of
be
thing.
able to
I can't believe
adjust
he
to
would
the
leave.
flawed play control.
I'm right
Toy
here
Story's
again.
great gameplay
There
is
you are.
shrouded, however, by frustrating challenge and play control, and the cheating methods
I love
destroy what's
powdered
left of
sugar,
the
by
game
the
after
way.
that.
Over here. This is so cute.
Now, check out our review of Toy Story, the movie.
Seriously though, I really, really appreciate it. You know what? While I have everyone here, I may as well say this. A couple things. One, I have a YouTube channel. What the fuck? No, we're not, we're not doing it again.
No, no more Toy Story.
What the
No.
what? What's playing? Get out of here. Cool your jets. Cool your jets. Woody was
Calm
truly the
down.
Hogan of his toy box. The fucking Gitsy with the run in after Gitsy. What the hell? Truly a Hogan of his toy box, always trying to keep the new talent out of the spotlight. He really was Hogan maxing during like the first half of the movie, not gonna lie. So Mr. Wood from the hood got a little eager. Anyways, Zach,
Yes.
we were talking about wrestling, but
Yes, we were.
I'll go ahead and do this. Here. YouTube video. It's up. It's new. It's funny. It's about WrestleMania 19's revenge mode. We fucking made the Typhoon a villainous version of the Hurricane. It was funny. It was good. Go and check it out. Maybe leave a like and a comment. I would really appreciate it. Me and my editors put a lot of work into it. I think it's really funny. So, yeah. There it is. Anyways, Zach.
Alright, so, I was talking about how, TNA has no love in this news reward, which makes me sad.
Yes.
Right. Next award. Most outstanding wrestler. And there's a big discrepancy.
Hello,
here
Mario.
between the numbers. Oh, hello.
Hey there, Ashley.
Hey, Ashley. Third place was Kenny Omega at 590. Second place was Bryan Danielson at 1,773. And first was Will Ospreay at 3,086.
And this is the best wrestler award?
This is the most outstanding wrestler.
Wait, what is like wrestler of the year and okay, so we have wrestler of the year and we have most outstanding wrestler. What's the difference?
I don't know, but they're both won by Will Ospreay.
You know what? I would say that Will Ospreay is pretty outstanding. So what
Yes.
What wrestling awards are these? Wrestling Observer newsletter. We're going over these while hanging out in Ponytown. By the way, I'm wondering. Actually, no. Carry on, Zach.
Yes. All right. Next, very deserving. Next one, tag team of the year.
Okay.
Third place. Oh boy, I'm just gonna copy and paste this tag team in our DMs because I don't know how to pronounce their name.
Okay. Let me see. Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. That's probably like some like New Japan stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Viking Raiders, primarily because one of them was out for like most of the year. So
yeah. How dare Alpha Academy not be on here?
actually, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the best
second,
parts of Raw. Anyways,
you know what's on here? Second place, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Based.
They're very entertaining.
Based. I loved their story going into Mania. I know it kind of fizzled out over time, but I enjoy them. So
especially when they were tag champs, yeah.
Yes.
And first place was FTR, because of course.
FTR, yeah, that was always gonna win. Honestly, in terms of like tag wrestling, it was a bit of a mediocre year. Especially considering like on the side of on Tony Khan's side. Also Featherfoot, I just noticed a little giraffe plush on your head. Very inspired. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up ready to represent the club. Damn, what about DIY? I mean, like, I don't think that they were like formed for like long enough to make that big of an impact this year, right?
Yeah, and one of their members like was out for a majority of the year. DIY.
Mm-hmm. They put on great matches. Oh no, they did. But just like I think in general, like tag wrestling was sort of a mixed bag this year across both major promotions and in like other places as well, but especially across the major promotions. Like AEW's tag stuff was like surprisingly lacking this year. It feels like any time that the Young Bucks don't have the belts, then the tag stuff just seems a bit directionless, you know?
Oh, you mean sort of the same case with Britt Baker in the women's division for a while there?
I mean, I guess, yeah. But like, you know, now the women's stuff actually has a bit of direction, like with Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo. But yeah, it took a long time to get to that point.
I also, FTR, this is also not considering a bit of real life controversy that happened with them.
Yeah, but I don't think that they're like, I don't think they're like taking that into account. I think they're more so taking into account just like how they are on the TV. Because like, if I'm being honest, between Dax's just general obnoxiousness and Cash Wheeler potentially facing prison time, I would not have them sniff anywhere on these charts, honestly. They kind of have go away heat with me at the moment. I don't care about them. But
yeah. No, at least the question, who would actually be tag team of the year then?
I mean, I could just default to the Usos, but like after Mania, they didn't do anything really.
Yeah, it's like after Money in the Bank, they dissolved.
Basically, Chad Gable is the absolute most underrated wrestler in the world, in my opinion. I think that they're starting to do something with Chad too. though. So, yeah, I would say that I would say that he is underrated, but not for much longer. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. Just.
moving on.
Oh boy. Oh, that is a fun. Best on interviews. So I guess that means best promo game. I want to say.
Yeah, I guess best on the mic. Yeah.
Yeah. Third place. I'm just like base. Third place. Christian Cage.
Christian has hit his stride so fucking hard. It is actually insane. He's on the run of his life and he's 50 years old. It's actually insane.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Second place, MJF, of course.
MJF, yes.
And first place, Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston absolutely deserves that. He is he's one of the few people in wrestling now that makes me just kind of forget that wrestling is fake for a bit, because you can just tell that this is just who he is, you know? Like, this is like Eddie Kingston just lives and breathes pro wrestling. Whether it's fucking just kicking the shit out of his best friend Moxley or fighting one of his heroes in Japan. He just has so much passion for this, and you can see it in everything. And you know what? MJF, like, I'm not going to hey Lizard Snow. I'm not going to be one of those guys and just try to discount his work towards the latter half of the year, because yeah, like, while some of it was pretty iffy, I think throughout this year he's shown a lot of versatility. You know, there was a good period of time where he was over as a completely unironic babyface. You know.
Yep.
And I do not think that is for nothing. I just think that he's that fucking good on the stick and that good at conveying his character. You know.
It does make you wonder if the stuff with the devil storyline made him not get first.
I would have to say that's a contributing factor, because like, even though I don't think it was as bad as some people think it is, I do.
Hello, Mario.
I will say that it reeks of them just trying to pivot and them just making the wrong decision when they tried to pivot. So yeah, I would say in that respect, that's kind of dampened his face run somewhat. But I think up until that point, the stuff that he was doing with Adam Cole, sublime. It was actually fantastic.
I'll say it was very close between him and Eddie. MJF was 1,441 and Eddie was 1,483.
It's a fucking close game, and that really does just kind of go to show that I feel that like AEW needs to be giving these guys more promo time, because especially Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston
so good.
Has a criminally low amount of mic time. I feel that like Tony Khan just needs to be giving him more of it and giving him more room to tell stories, because it's just so clear that he wants to do shit, you know?
Dude, I remember on like, I forget what show it was, but like the pre-show a few years ago, where he was involved in that hardcore like tag match where he came out looking like a zombie by the end of it.
No, I know. That fucking image. Listen, chat. I need to show you this, and a bit of a content warning if you don't like gore. But it isn't like, you know, active punctures gore, but just like a guy draped in blood, right?
I forget what pay-per-view was it?
This was Double or Nothing in 2022, I think. This fucking image of Eddie Kingston, just like walking down to the ring drenched in blood with a fucking gas canister. This is forever etched into my brain, because
walking down like a horror movie villain.
yeah, like literally, this is literally like Jason Voorhees right here. This is like slasher movie type shit. And he just makes it look so fucking cool. So
I bring that up, Logan, because I remember even on the pre-show, where most people don't watch, he was giving like a really damn good promo. We're just amazed by it.
Malamac, rando sentence. I love you, Stev, and I hope that you suplex every negative thing in your life. I'm trying every day, bud. I hope that you're doing the same as well. Thank you. I appreciate it. All the human being juice. It is all the human being juice mixed with fucking gasoline. He literally poured... Look at this! Look at this! This is actually insane. This man is actually, like, no one told Eddie Kingston that wrestling isn't real at some point. I wanted to hold a hardcore title at some point. He probably has at some point in some... I mean, like, I know that he was in CCW. I wonder if he was, like, world champion over there at some point.
Remember, he was gonna light them on fire, actually.
No, I know. He was, like, gonna light them on fire. He... Like, no one told Eddie Kingston that wrestling is fake, and he's just taking that out on everybody else. He channels every bit of ECW and CCW in his being. He's like... he's like that, but more tasteful, I would say. So, and a lot more soulful. Remember, hydrate with them liquids, even from a red can. Exactly.
Yeah,
if you're parched, just... if you're at the gas station and you find that you're parched, look for the nearest red can and take a swig. You know? It's called bone growth juice. It's good for you.
Yes, well deserving.
yes, I would say that.
First place. All right. Oh boy. Oh boy. This. Promotion of the year.
Yeah, chat. That's what I mean. I can get very passionate about wrestling. I hope that, like, I hope that us getting, like, so fucking deep into this isn't turn some of you off, but, like, this is what I'm the most passionate about, so I at least hope I'm rubbing that off on you a little bit. But yeah, promotion of the year.
What do you think on it, Logan?
Let's see. I mean, like, it's not going to be AEW. I don't think they deserve it this year, honestly. So, when we talk promotions, are we talking about, like, whole companies or, like, just singular shows? Like,
whole
Raw,
companies. Companies.
Okay, I'll just say it. WWE.
Yeah, they won. For the first time since 2000.
Since 2000?
Yeah.
What won in 2001? That was when WWF was on its big hot streak.
Let's see. Let me look real quick.
That is a testament to how much Vince fucked things up. Wow.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
The moment that he's gone, and suddenly WWE gets all the accolades.
Throw a giant gold ring around.
Suddenly WWE's the critical darling.
Gentlemen, step on up. Come on, let's go.
Promotion of the year. Let's see.
You suck, Devin.
2001 Pride Fighting Championship. Wait, is that a UFC type thing?
A prize fighting championship is like Japanese MMA, right?
Oh, damn.
That's got nothing to do with wrestling.
Yeah.
That's crazy. WWF was on such a hot streak at that point. You know what? 2001 was no competition. The end of the Attitude Era and the Invasion angle. That's very true. It's very true. The Invasion angle probably really killed it. I thought they were around decades ago. They started in the 90s, I think. So.
And Logan, just to submit this, from 2006 to 2011, promotion of the year was the UFC.
Yeah,
Damn.
exactly. I'm booing that too. I'm booing the UFC as promotion of the year. They're not even wrestling, damn it.
Well, yeah. But still, for the first time since 2000, the WWE has won promotion of the year. It's crazy.
Yes. Wait, can I decorate?
Let's say this, Logan. Second place was AEW, and third place was New Japan.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So,
feel
so
bad for like TNA. Even in the year where they had a renaissance, they still they still can't even get third place.
nope. Sad.
Sag. But can I be happy that I'm finally getting so many dark skinned, my dark skin hype for WWE? No. I mean, like, listen, man. The more fans, the better, I would say.
Yeah.
I think that wrestling in general is, like, just on a completely different level at this point. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I guess Triple H as chief content officer was the right idea. It really is. Not everything of his
Yeah.
has hit, but the stuff that needs to hit is hitting, and it is yielding dividends, because even just a few years ago, WWE was struggling to sell out even, like, venues that are half the size of what it's running right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's routinely selling out, venues that, like, house 15,000 people, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just on episodes of Raw and SmackDown. Once you actually go to, like, pay-per-views, like, they literally just had Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber's a B show, chat. Elimination Chamber's a B show, and they had it in Perth, Australia. It was in front of 52,000 people. 52,000!
And for us, it started at 6 in the fucking morning.
Yep. And you know what? I don't care if you like WWE, I don't care if you like AEW, I don't care if you like one over the other. Personally, I like AEW more, but I am happy to see wrestling doing so well, because it has been needing, like, a fucking era like this for so long. So,
I'm also happy that WWE is like is experimenting with their pay-per-views, going actually outside the US for a change.
yeah, they've been doing that so friggin' often. Yeah. While we're talking about this, I'm giving myself physical and visual stimulation by having a boop fight with Feather.
Mm-hmm.
Chat, who's winning right now? Who's winning? Who's been keeping score?
But no, it's just like, you know what? Probably well deserved, actually.
Video editors put, like, health bars above each other, and Feather's winning. Hey, all right. Are you selling those boops, Stev? I'm selling them about as hard as I can. We're like a perpetual state of, like, those lock-up fist fights, like, where they just, like, hit each other's head a whole bunch. It makes me think of that. But yes, I would say that it's like, I mean, just like going to various countries, it's like yielding dividends. I mean, like, we've had multiple pay-per-views in the past year that have taken place outside the country, and we're gonna have more of them this year. So, yeah. In general, I like when wrestling succeeds, whether it's one person or the other. Ideally, both of them. I would like both of them to succeed.
Yes,
So,
please.
Yeah. That way everyone can shut the fuck up about which one is better than the other, even though I know that won't happen, because the majority of wrestling fans are weird nerds, or at least some of them are weird nerds. And
Because we still live in the 90s, apparently.
it never stopped this way, honestly. It's just amplified more because of the internet. But anyways.
Yes, well deserved.
Yes.
First of the year. All right. Next. Best weekly TV show. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think none of the weekly TV shows. Well, I'll just say right now. First place was Dynamite.
Okay.
Second place. Third place was SmackDown, and second place was Collision.
Second place was Collision?
Yeah. Just like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with second place, but I've not seen a bad episode of Collision yet. And a lot of people, a lot of the more kind of plugged in fans of AEW, they say it's like some of their best weekly TV in a long time. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out. but I just don't have time. I don't have time. I do not have time. I'm sorry. YouTube has been very, very good for me for just watching the moments I want to watch. So.
Yep. So SmackDown, I put it being third place. I put that as one of those shows where it's just like it's never great, but it's good comfort food. That makes any sense.
I think that SmackDown is much more watchable for me than Raw, but in general, I just don't like WWE's presentation of things. I think that they're way too promo heavy. I think that the matches they have can sometimes feel very inconsequential. And just in general, like the pacing of the shows, it absolutely aggravates me. Like even tonight, for example, they gave.
I know you're gonna bring it up.
Listen. I know, and I'll say this: I get why they would do it, right? I get why they would try to do it, right? But why? But I do not. I don't care if it's The Rock. I don't want to watch a promo for 40 fucking minutes. 10 of those minutes being entrances. Like, are you kidding me? On TV? Good lord. Are we struggling to fill 2 hours? Just like that?
Yeah, The Rock will come out after these messages.
God fuck, dude, after hearing Roman waste time for 10 fucking minutes in there, and then I heard Paul Heyman, I just rolled my eyes a little bit. I was like, this just feels like time wasting, you know?
It's so weird because SmackDown usually never has this problem. Always just wasting like 40 minutes on promos.
And you know what? Again, I get it. Like, if you're gonna give any promo 40 minutes, the biggest thing in wrestling right now is probably what you would want to do it on, right? I get the logic there. But I just don't want to sit through that in general. Hi there, Henry. He doesn't want to sit through it in general. He's bored to tears.
And was that promo just to establish the tag team match at WrestleMania Night 1?
Well, I mean, like, I would say that's the best fit for The Rock at this point. Speaking of, my brain is telling me to turn Shining Wizard into an Inkling because there's a Lucha mask in the game now. I swear I spelled that wrong. This is awesome. What, the boot fight between me and Featherfoot? This is awesome.
Logan, what do you think about Dynamite winning Best Weekly TV?
I'll tell you after we run an ad.
It's time for a 120 seconds minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
On after this. And we used to think 2000 era Raws that started off with 10-minute plus Triple H promos were bad. Oh my god.
Oh, I didn't do that this time.
I know. Ashley did it this time.
Konami also
Konami
with Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. Although we found the game to be a disappointment, we couldn't help but be
this
sucked
wrestling
into the
talk.
game. The game expands
This
dramatically
is one of
as
the
you
rare
find
ones
new
we haven't seen
passageways and secrets
from
within
Kitsy.
Dracula's castle.
In a while.
We think the game is fun.
Well,
but
listen,
again,
I also
way
think the
overhyped.
boot fight
This is
between
a
me and
traditional
Featherfoot is
2D
pretty
platform
awesome.
experience,
We're just
with
going
no
hell for
in-game
leather on each
cinemas or
other's faces
anything
right
to
now.
set it apart from previous Dracula outings. The unification of side-scrolling
Wait, bro,
action
Gitsy
and
while an
character-building
ad break
RPG
happens?
elements
Yeah,
is
I mean,
unique
that's
and
essentially kind of
impressive,
what we use
but
it
almost
for.
unnoticeable in terms of the effect on gameplay.
Why have they
The
never
challenge is
ported
very
it? What,
high.
Symphony of the
We
Night?
got
I wish I
far
could get
into the
Symphony of the
game,
Night on
but still
PC
felt
so
far
much.
from the end. The different areas of
I
Dracula's
could have sworn
castle
that
are
like Symphony of the Night was
and
like
in many
ported
cases,
like
a sight to see.
thousands
The
of times
artistry
at this
and detail
point,
is
right?
readily apparent, particularly in the backgrounds. The setting is very convincing as
Like,
every
what
place
platforms is
Romanesque
Symphony of the
or
Night
Gothic.
on?
Besides the overdone side-scrolling nature of the game,
I've never
we
heard
also
bad
have a
talk
minor
on
complaint about
Castlevania.
one aspect of the game's control. You can't jump in the middle of a swing. Think about that for a moment. If you're standing still and you swing
Think
the
about
belt,
it,
you
chat.
can't
Oh,
jump
excuse
until
me,
the
we're
whip has
back,
come
my
all the
dudes.
way back
Not
to you.
We're not.
Now that's ridiculous,
Not yet. We got
folks.
30 more seconds.
Ridiculous and frustrating. I mean, really,
Frustrating.
that is one annoying flaw. So much for realism. The Castlevania series often sports slightly stiff control, and this game is no exception.
Everything except
However,
Windows
we
and
should
Mac,
say
no
that
lie.
the control only
Really?
feels stiff in
That's
that
crazy.
instance. Otherwise,
You would think it would be
yeah.
on there,
Castlevania
like...
Symphony of the Night is a pretty decent game.
You would think it would be on
You
there, like,
won't not
immediately.
like it, but it won't
Yeah,
make you
look,
sing out loud either.
it was on the
Then again,
360,
no game does that.
the PSP,
The bottom line
the
is,
PS4,
unlike Crash
and
Bandicoot
even
2,
Android and
Castlevania
iOS.
does not take old school gameplay and put it in a flattering 3D format. Instead, Castlevania just creates more of the same, but enjoyable more of the same.
Okay, George.
I'm gonna be honest, like, especially towards the end there, that's actually one of his more, like, balanced critiques of anything. I'm gonna go swap my cocoa milk out for soda so I have caffeine. Alright. We'll be here, don't worry.
Yep.
I don't think
We're
I
back in the
have...
epic.
I don't think I have some of these set up properly. I'm gonna have to go in and make sure that things are working fine after this.
Is Raw back?
Raw is back.
Yeah.
No, you know, I don't think 2023 has been like one of the best years for Dynamite. I think that I don't know if
Or
it's
just
just
wait.
because, you know, it's not the shiny new thing anymore, or if it's just that I've gotten more busy and I've just not really cared as much. But like, I
I
don't
say
know.
just for weekly. I say just for weekly TV in general, 2023.
Oh, well, like, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
that I think that I think that in general, I've just not been really too motivated to check things out like on a weekly basis. And again, like I don't know if that's because, you know, I'm I'm just more busy, you know? I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it may shock some people that I don't spend all of my free time, you know,
Consuming wrestling.
watching sweaty men do sweaty things. What the fuck? No. Go away. The only downside to being a giraffe, you always bump your head. Ain't that the truth? I love how me and Fizzy have been doing this, or rather, I love how me and Featherfoot have been doing this for like 30 minutes at this point.
I know, right?
The battle never stops.
But yeah,
Dragon
yeah, look,
Ball
I agree.
episode. But yes.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. Yeah, definitely one of Dynamite's weaker years, I want to say.
I don't think it's had like too many bad moments this year, but like just a lot of it has just felt kind of bleh. And I think a lot of the reason for that is because
for life.
Razzie1420, thank you for the follow. You're now a member of the Long Boy Club for life. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you are doing well, my friend. Ooh, nice. Hopefully you are doing well. But yes, it just kind of felt like this year in particular, it lacked focus in most aspects. And like, unless it was like, the world title stuff, I would say.
Yeah.
Things didn't feel... It didn't feel like there was like as much of a focus, placed on like other aspects of the card. Like, I think especially now, the problem that like the roster faces... Oh wait, I'm gonna head out and get some sleep, fellow quadrupeds. Thank you very much for friggin' joining us, my friend. You go and have a good night, Big Gamer. Wrap it up, guys. Go for the finish. All right, hold on. Yeah. If I go for the giraffe, it's game over. But no, I think that just in general, it's been one of like the weaker years, and again, I think that comes down to like the fact that like a lot like of the as you travel down the card, I feel that things lose focus, and I think that Dynamite could really do with like with focusing a bit more on its storytelling. And it's really weird because once upon a time, this wasn't really the issue, it feels like. Like, once upon a time, it felt like they really kind of, like, knew where things were going. But these days it just doesn't really feel like there's that kind of focus there in most aspects. And I think they got to get that back. Like, and they are starting to get that back. I mean, like the world title stuff, that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The stuff with the mid-card titles, especially like with Cassidy and with Christian, like that makes sense.
Yeah.
The women's title stuff, that's finally getting some love, right?
Yeah. Say, funny enough, one of the only other things that was like really focused in 2023 was all the stuff with Christian Cage.
Yeah, I know. Like Christian has stayed a relatively consistent fixture of TV for at least 6 months at this point. Probably longer, but I just kind of forget things. So, but no, like I feel that like what Tony Khan definitely needs to do a little bit more of is pick some guys that he wants to push and stick with them, because right now it feels like there are just too many guys that are just showing up and having good matches, which you know what, I love myself good matches. It is partly, rather like it is the main reason why I prefer AEW over WWE, because there's a greater focus on the wrestling. But what I like more is for there to be more context behind the wrestling sometimes, you know? And I feel like that there isn't as much of that sometimes. I feel that they would do with a greater focus on storytelling sometimes. And, yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying. I looked over and my GF is cuddling our blanket like it's me. Oh, that's so cute. I love that. I love that for you. I made my own promotion on a spreadsheet solely because while I love WWE, I was frustrated with the product for a long time. I think that's what a lot of people did. So, yeah. Okay, hold on.
I just want both companies to
I win! 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 In your face, Feather! I win! I got the giraffe! I think. Wait. It's still there. No! Give me it! Give me it!
Alright, anyway.
Continuing on.
Yeah, continue. Okay. This is actually funny to me. Alright, Logan. Pro Wrestling Match of the Year. Match of the Year.
Alright.
Third place. MJF versus Bryan Danielson, March 5th, San Francisco. I believe that was a 60-minute Iron Man match, right?
That was in fact Revolution. You lose, Steph. I don't know. I don't lose. Shining Wizard doesn't lose.
Oh man, dude. Remember we were all watching it. That was phenomenal.
That was actually phenomenal. I was watching. It was the only time that I watched wrestling like in a movie theater, and it's probably the only time I will, because I'm gonna be honest, y'all. Watching wrestling in a movie theater is kind of balls. Hi, Henry. Because like you don't get like the theater experience, right? Like you don't. Because like there isn't any surround sound. The picture isn't really like, on a large screen. It's just kind of like you're watching wrestling, but now it's in a movie theater and you can't even react to loud moments because of theater etiquette, you know?
Yep.
So like, it's just kind of lame. So
I don't think this is it, Chief.
I would not recommend it. I would just buy a surround sound thing for your own home and watch it that way. So
that being said, that was third place. Phenomenal. It's great. So even more phenomenal than that. Second place, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, June 25th, Toronto.
That was Forbidden Door. That was a phenomenal match. The only thing that I would have changed about it was don't have Don Callis come back out, because that doesn't make sense. So
because he was already barred.
He was Solo Sikoa maxing at that moment in time. So
and hey, look, you're gonna get laugh at this. Well, what's first place? Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay in Tokyo.
So you have AEW, New Japan.
Two of the same matches, first and second. That's funny to me.
Well, that just shows how fucking good of opponents Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega are for each other, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say those are very good picks. I really enjoyed the Danielson and MJF match. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, that was probably my match of the year at Forbidden Door. And I don't watch New Japan, so I can't really speak on the other one, but I bet it was great because both Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay are great. So
I'll say this, even though the weekly TV has kind of been, iffy for me in 2023, for both companies, I mean for both WWE and AEW, neither of them, both of them had like constant banger pay-per-views.
Oh yeah, they fucking both of them were like ace on the pay-per-view department. Although AEW kind of fell off a little bit towards the end, I feel like. Because World's End wasn't really all that special, I think. Had a good last couple matches, a good final moment, and because both of the main players in it are hurt, they've not been able to capitalize on it, and now everyone involved just feels like big old mid-carders. You know?
I remember, Logan. That was our biggest complaint about World's End. The pace of it was really weird.
Yeah, because like for like the first couple thirds of the show, it just wasn't like up to snuff, I feel like. I do not think that Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega are hyped up too much in any respect. I genuinely do think they are just as good as as people say they are. At least in terms of like the psychology sort of thing. In terms of like wrestling ability, yeah, I would say there are people that are better than them. But just in terms of like pacing out a match and telling a story, I think that there aren't too many people that are better than them. Now, Okada, I've not seen enough of his body of work to really make like a case on that. But a lot of these, these people have a lot of fans for a reason, you know? So, probably because, at least in Okada's case, if we're being perfectly honest, it's people who have heard that he's good, and they've decided that he's good. I do think that he's good, but I don't know if he's, like, to that level. I've just not seen enough of his work. But I do think that, like, Ospreay and Omega just are as good as people say they are. Especially Ospreay. So, yeah.
Anyway, that's it for the Category A awards. Now we have the Category B awards.
Alright.
United States / Canada MVP. Third place, MJF. Second place, Bryan Danielson. First place, Cody Rhodes.
Adrenaline in my soul. I mean,
so good.
I don't know. I feel that like if MJF just stayed consistent, he would very easily be first place. I think again, like for the majority of the year, like he was doing really, really, really good stuff. But Cody Rhodes is like the best babyface that WWE has had in such a long time, and it's also just a testament to how fucking good, like, to how fucking needed an alternative was. Because without like, you know, a second major promotion here in the States, I don't really think that like WWE would be where it is. I don't think that there would be as much of a motivation for them to be where it is without AEW. So it was them that basically made Cody into who he is, kinda, and it was WWE that allowed him to basically continue that. So
not only is like I said, it's just the most babyface of babyfaces in like the best possible way, but just like MJF, he also constantly put on banger matches in 2023.
Yeah, he has Maxwell Jacob Freeman has a lot of range, but Cody is just he's he's just so incredibly likable on like a lot of levels that WWE babyfaces have not been in such a long time. Because unlike Cena, like rather latter year Cena, unlike Roman when they were trying to push him as a face, Cody Rhodes has fucking adversity, you know? Like he actually has like a story to finish. Finish the story.
This came about naturally. Didn't try to shove them down our faces.
Because like Cody actually has like a lot like of background to pull from. He has like adversity to like overcome in the form of like the super boss champion Roman Reigns, you know?
Yeah.
And it's gonna be really weird when Roman tries to go back to a face because I don't really know if it's gonna work. But I do think that, you know, Cody and Roman are just such perfect foils to each other. So so like I feel like without without that, I don't really think like I think the road to like becoming like sort of like the best fucking face in the company at this point, I think it would be much different. But I do think that he is just probably the best face right now in terms of Western wrestling. I just think that he just has just so much to fucking like about him. So yeah.
Oh, dude, if he does win that title, you're gonna hear like the biggest pop like ever.
There will be like kids crying. I know it. Legacies are what kind of feeling. Sorry. Legacies are what kind of are feeling Western wrestling. I mean, listen, dude. You gotta pull from that history. You know? I mean, wrestling is. And I know it's kind of funny to say it, but wrestling is kind of like a cinematic universe, or rather, it's kind of like a comic book. You know? It's got like eras. It's got like a whole bunch of material to pull from, and it's that rich history that helps make wrestling into what it is. Without that external context, telling that sort of a story that they're trying to tell would be much harder. So yeah, I hope Rhodes wins. Reigns being 1,000 plus days is excessive. I can't handle the thought of Roman being champion for another year. Like just
let's not.
I am repelled by the thought of it. So let's not do it. Let's just give Roman the fucking. Just give Cody the fucking strap already, please. So.
Wow, Roman, this is rare for you. You're actually gonna work a double duty at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I know, right?
Lord.
Yeah.
All right. Next. Yeah, well deserved, Cody. Next, Japan MVP. Third place. I don't know how to say his name, so I'm just gonna copy and paste it to you.
Okay. Tetsuya Naito. And what's this category?
Japan MVP.
Okay.
Second place, Okada. We just talked about him.
All right.
And first place, oh, would you look at that? Will Ospreay.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'll take that. I don't really know too much about like Japanese wrestling outside of the obvious stuff. So yeah. I would say that Will Ospreay is deserved. Although a small part of me would like it to be like, you know, a native to the country winning that.
Yeah.
Rather than someone from Britain winning it. Because that feels a little wrong to me. I don't know.
Next we have the Mexican MVP. And oh boy, Logan, you're gonna be happy who got first on this.
Oh boy. Okay. Let's see it.
First place was Mystico.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Give him his fucking due after face planting on the trampoline in WWE. Give him his due.
Does the fake Sin Cara still wrestle as well in Mexico?
I don't know if Hunico wrestles. So I don't know. Where is Vikingo? He's probably on the top 3. He's just been so like exposed over here in the West, or rather like over here in the States, that it would shock me if he's not like in the top 3.
Yeah. Third place was Rocky Romero. Is that how you say it?
Rocky Romero, yeah.
Yep. And second place, I'm not even gonna attempt
All right,
to say
give
it,
me
so I'm
the
just
name.
gonna.
El Hijo del Vikingo.
There you go.
We've seen him all the time on Dynamite this year. So, yeah, deserved. He's been all over the fucking place. He is quite good. I would say that is very much deserved. El Hijo del Vikingo is quite good. So, yeah. Good list. Good list.
Yep.
Mystico is finally getting his fucking due. El Hijo is a good shout. And Rocky Romero is, I think, the definition of a good hand. I think that he's always good for a solid match, but I don't really see him doing too much, unfortunately. I lost my brain. Inkling Shining Wizard in progress. I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
You're super excited.
Oh, I'm super excited. We're going to show it here on stream if we can somehow stream for long enough to see it. But man was pulling and carrying in Mexico before he showed out. Oh, I know. Like, he was carrying AAA on his back for a long time. And now he's, like, killing it here in the States in multiple promotions. It's good for him. Good for him. So, yeah.
So, next up is the Danny Hugh Memorial Award, aka the non-heavyweight MVP.
The what award? Sorry? Can you, like...
Danny Hodge. Yeah, I was you good. Danny Hodge.
Type it.
This.
Yes, it's Danny Hodge.
Danny Hodge. Danny Hodge Memorial Award, aka the non-heavyweight MVP.
Okay.
Third in his only appearance on the list was Darby Allin.
Okay.
Second place. Second place was this guy.
Hiromu Takahashi. Okay. I've heard of him.
Yeah, and first place, we were just talking about him, Logan. El Higo.
El Hijo del Vikingo. Say it with me. El Hijo.
El Hijo.
Del Vikingo.
Del Vikingo.
Right now, say it. El Hijo del Vikingo. Say it.
Oh boy. El Hijo del Vikingo.
No, it is El Hijo.
Oh, El Hijo del Vikingo.
El Hijo del Vikingo.
El Hijo del Vikingo.
Vikingo.
El
Hijo.
Del Hijo.
El Hijo del Vikingo.
Vikingo.
Yes.
Okay.
Say it.
Oh boy. El Hijo del Vikingo.
You know what? We'll work on it.
That's a work in progress.
In Spanish, H is silent. So
okay.
So don't say it like Hijo. Say it like Hijo.
Right? Hijo. Okay. El Hijo del
Vikingo.
Vikingo.
Yes. El Hijo del Vikingo.
Okay.
Over here giving Zach Spanish lessons.
All right, but yes, he won first.
Cool. Good for him. Next.
Yeah. All right. This is relatively one of the newer ones. This is established in like 2018. Women's wrestling MVP.
Okay.
Third place was Athena.
All right. I heard that she was doing really good work in ROH. Cool.
Yep. She was actually on Rampage tonight as well.
Nice.
She lost. Second place was this person.
Let's see her. Julia. You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna type this in. I think I've heard of this person recently. Yes! I literally... I was literally introduced to this person when I watched fucking Joshi wrestling a couple weeks ago on stream. I was literally introduced to this person. She's like one of the top women gaijins over in Japan right now. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty deserved. Good. Cool. We take those.
Hey, Logan, can you take a guess who won first place?
Tony Storm.
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I'll take that.
Yeah, the discrepancy between second and first, by the way, is also big. Julia, 162. Rhea Ripley, 359.
All right.
Yeah. Oh boy. Feud of the year.
Okay.
All right. Third place. I can't say I heard these two people, but this is on third.
All right, let me see. Kento Miyahara versus Katsuhiko Nakajima. Let me see who Kento Miyahara is. Again, I'm not like the most knowledgeable in terms of Japanese wrestling, so you'll have to forgive me. He's in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay.
Yeah.
That's surprising, considering because like All Japan has not been relevant in years. So
yeah.
So the fact that this is on the list is pretty big ups, honestly. Good for it.
Second place. Yeah, second place. It didn't win first, but second place was Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland.
You're not gonna get a leg up on me just because I'm looking up wrestling, Feather. I'm catching up. Yes. I like that. I like all the accolades for Hangman. Honestly, all the accolades.
Second place didn't win, but yeah, second place. First place though is like, all right. You know what? Agree. Yeah, I fully agree with this. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know that one's actually fully deserving. That was so fucking good. That pop at the Royal Rumble. Mwah.
Yep, absolutely. I like that.
Yep, I like that. Okay, Logan, you're gonna have to describe me because I never really got this, but best box office draw.
Probably the guy that makes the most money. Hold on, I'm going to run an ad because I need to.
It's time for a 120 seconds minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
Rawls on after this.
After it is.
Cool. Oh. Feather dropped for a second. Where'd you go, bud?
Feather! Now I'm the one. Now I'm the one that gets the blanket see.
Final Doom from Williams is a game
oh my
that
God,
chews
this
you
is
up
good.
and spits you out.
Okay.
Like
I don't
any
think I've
Doom
seen
game,
this.
Final Doom is invincible, indestructible, impossible, impenetrable. We're going to try to be clever for the rest of this review. Don't have a cow once you figure out what we're saying.
Don't have a cow,
Doom's
Zach.
just more of the same old Doom shoot-'em-up action that has spawned countless clones in the video game industry. The same Doom enemies that inhabited all the other Doom games of this Doom series are also in this Doom game. Doom it, we're sick of all these Doom bloody games with more Doom gunshots in 1 minute than we would otherwise hear in a lifetime. We're sick of all the Doom groans of the dead demons and the people you must shoot in the game. Doom it. These games make you Doom crazy.
Chat, how are your brain
they're
cells?
so Doom hard. Normally, challenge is good, but not in this Doom game. Hardcore Doomers will be in Doom Nirvana.
Hardcore Doomers!
Master levels from the
Om nom
internet,
nom. Oh,
Plutonia,
excuse
and
me, we're back,
TNT.
my dudes.
All are
Incredible.
extremely difficult. Hidden in the instruction
Hardcore Doomers,
that gives you
chat.
all of the game's
Are you all
weapons. But even
hardcore
with that
Doomer,
little
chat?
You will fail miserably.
Where are all my
Don't worry,
hardcore
we're not
Doomers
going
out
to
here?
Doom Williams, but let's just say it's time to put this series to rest. Of course, we may end up eating crow once Doom
Brain
64 comes out.
cells.
And I mean Doom as in Doom in that instance.
Yeah, where are they,
if you
dude?
Think that all these Dooms
You
are
got them
bad,
still?
Wait till you find out what BFG
After hearing
stands
this?
for. The BFG 9000 is the biggest gun in the game. If Williams sees this segment, they will either A, laugh at all the Dooms, B, put us on their to-doom list,
Their
C,
to-doom
doom us
list.
to Hades, or D, not do one Doom thing.
Probably D.
The moment I saw that, I knew it had to be in the rotation.
God, my brain cells.
Put them in a grapple state. Cool. Biggest box office draw is probably Roman.
Let's see. Yep, it was Roman, followed by Cody, then John Cena.
Figured. John Cena's always going to be a big draw. Always. He's like,
yeah.
I mean, he's like a global superstar now. So.
By the way, this is like the only category that doesn't have any votes next to the side, so that's interesting.
Sleepy Kitsune 999, thank you for following. You're now a member of the Long Boy Club. Life. I'm glad to see you here. How you doing, my friend?
Okay. Logan, this has always been really interesting. Hello.
Hi.
This category has always been really interesting to me. Most improved. Who improved the most?
Let's see.
Yeah. I guess let's see. Logan, how do you say this name? This one third. Martha May.
Hold on.
Maria May.
I'm doing something here.
Okay.
I'm trying to like see what's all possible here. Were you just kind of searching through and you found us here? Mariah May. Oh, she's like the person that's been running around with Tony Storm lately. The one that we all thought was gonna be bad, and then she turned out to be good.
Okay.
She's actually really good. Yeah, I like her.
Yeah, she won third, most improved. Second, Dominic Mysterio. And first, I agree with this. First, Julia Hart.
4.
Jeez, Looney Metal, thanks for following. You're now a member of the Long Boy Club for life. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're doing well. Jeez. But yeah, what's the second one, Zach?
Second was Dominic Mysterio. And first was Julia Hart.
I agree with both of those. Dominic especially, but like especially like with Julia Hart as well. She still has the title, and the only reason she hasn't lost is because she's injured. So.
Oh really?
Yeah. She actually like injured herself, I think, or she actually got injured. So.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I thought I was following you. Well, thank you for following now. So.
I say about Julia. She has improved, both promo wise, mystique wise, and like wrestling wise. I'll say that.
Yeah, she's actually like quite good now. So I'd watch a Julia Hart match. So
yeah, I watch Julia Hart match now.
I'm gonna go and get an apple real quick, brother.
No. All right. Most charismatic.
Yes. The most charismatic. Anyways, I'm off to bed. Have a good stream. Well, thank you for following. And you have a good sleep, Looney Metal. You have a good sleep.
The third place was Kento Mariah.
Kento Mariah, okay.
Second was Roman Reigns, and first was MJF.
All right.
Yeah. Like cool.
Let's sit down.
All right. I wonder who won this. Hey Logan, the Bryan Danielson Award, Best Technical Wrestler.
It's still Bryan Danielson.
It sure is Bryan Danielson, baby.
It sure is Bryan fucking Danielson.
Second is Zack Sabre Jr. And third place, with the only Impact representation on this list, Josh Alexander.
Well, you know what? At least At least my boy got something. Jesus.
There's a big discrepancy, though. Josh Alexander, 17 votes. Zack Sabre Jr., 427.
Who were the third place runner-ups? I want to know that. I want to know what the third place runner-ups were.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's like the only TNA representation in this whole newsletter.
Man, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Alright.
Alright. The Bruiser Brody Memorial Award, Best Brawler.
Okay.
Third place, Adam Page.
Good.
Yeah, he's...
Yes. Should've gone first. Should've gone first.
Hello, Mario.
Second place was Ishii. Tomohiro Ishii.
Tomohiro Ishii.
Mm-hmm. And first place was John Moxley with the Best Brawler.
Just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I accept that. I accept those.
Mm-hmm.
Moxley and fucking... Wait, Moxley and Hangman Page on one thing?
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go, man.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Best Flying Wrestler.
A flying wrestler, yes.
Third place, Ray Phoenix. Shame about me and injured most of the year, but I digress.
Yeah.
Second, oh my gosh, she actually didn't win first. Second, Will Ospreay. And first, that name you're trying to get me to pronounce.
El Hijo del Vikingo?
Yep.
Okay, cool. El Hijo getting more accolades. We like to see it.
Mm-hmm. Next up, this is like one of the few, this is like one of only two negative, like, wrestler award types. Most overrated.
Okay.
I don't know if I call him overrated, but third place was CM Punk.
Okay.
Second, Roman Reigns, and first, Sonata.
You know what? I would say that Sonata is probably a safe bet because it doesn't really kind of feel like it doesn't feel like that he really did much as like the New Japan champion. So I'd say that's probably fitting, but like I've not seen enough of his body of work to really say so.
Yeah. On the opposite end of that, we have the most underrated.
All right.
Third, Daniel Garcia.
Yes, I like Danny.
Second, Konosuke Takesha.
Right.
And first place, I know you wholeheartedly agree with this. First place, Chad Gable.
Oh, Chad, let's fucking go. Chad, let's fucking go. Give him the IC belt, please. I would like that. I think that most people with a pulse would like that. So, I'll take those. Thanks a bunch. I'll take that.
Say thank you. Oh, now we have Rookie of the Year.
All right.
I don't know how to pronounce this third place person. Magnum Bane?
You need to type.
Bane. Yeah, I typed in.
Megan Bane.
Megan Bane. I can't say I heard of them.
Well, where are they from?
It doesn't list where they're from.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, where are the other two?
Second place is Action Andretti.
Action Andretti, all right.
And first place is someone that doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Well, what was her name?
Yuma
Anzai.
Yeah, Anzai.
Yuma Anzai. Let's Google him. He works for All
the third.
Japan. Okay.
The third place person. She works for World Wonder Ring Stardom.
Oh, she's in Stardom. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'd imagine that maybe my friend Ari probably knows about them. We'll have to run it by him. Ooh, excuse me.
Yeah. Just unfortunately, I can't say I've heard of the first place person for Rookie of the Year.
Burps and yawns. I'm just doing way too much bodily fucking sounds right now, chat. Sorry.
You're fine.
My nickname sounds like pony name. LOL. It kind of does, yeah. Flowerheart is a very pony-esque name. But yeah.
All right, Logan. Now we have best non-wrestler.
Okay.
Third place, Prince Nana.
Should have been first. What's the other two?
Yeah. Second, Paul Heyman. Yes, of course. First, Don Callis.
No.
You don't agree with Don Callis?
I do not agree with Don Callis. I do not.
Yeah, you just don't like him that much as a promo guy.
It's not that I don't like him as a promo guy, it's that he's done absolutely nothing to elevate anybody in the 12 months that he's been on TV this year. Like, Konosuke feels like that all of the heat for him has just absolutely died. So...
What the fuck happened to Hobbs, man?
I mean, it just doesn't seem like he can catch a break, because this is like the third group that he's been in, and it just feels like that he's the least important part of it. You know?
Yeah, I remember Brian saying brought this up. It feels like Don Callis feels like he's like overshadowed everyone in his own group.
Yeah, I know. Like no one in there feels bigger because they're attached to like Don Callis.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, with this award, I probably would give it to Paul Heyman again.
Hopefully you land back up on your feet, Flowerheart. I know you will.
Yeah. But no, I probably would just give it to Paul Heyman again. He's always great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. All right, Logan. Best television announcer.
All right.
Oh boy. Third place. Oh, I know you're gonna disagree with this. Third place, Kevin Kelly.
Wait, the worst?
Best.
The best?
Yeah, best television announcer.
Oh no. Ow!
No.
Yeah, I will say it. I think that Kevin Kelly, ever since coming over to Collision, he's been the shits. I just don't really think that he just sounds constantly lost. He doesn't sound like that he's into the product at all. He just sounds... Oh, yeah. I just don't really think that he's... At least until, like, Tony Schiavone has been added on. Because, like, you know that he was added on in order to help move things along on the booth. You know?
Yeah. Dude, Kevin Kelly even gets confused when a picture-in-picture is supposed to happen.
No, I know. I don't know what's being told to him over the headset, or if he's just slow. I don't know. I just don't really think that he's in his element.
Please.
Oh, wait, hold on. Why are you such a handsome long boy? Can't help it. I'm just built different, you know? I'm built that way. And the only thing that's keeping me going is serotonin.
Spare serotonin, please.
Exactly, so provide. Thank you.
Yeah, Logan, he got third place in the newsletters. Second place, I'm going to assume is a New Japan person.
You're not a member of the Long Boy Club for life. Appreciate it. Hopefully you're doing well after all of this. Ian Riccaboni. He is actually really, really, really good. And I have heard it myself, because anytime that like he's been brought on in the place of Kevin Kelly, I'm being really harsh to Kevin Kelly, I realize this. But I just don't really think he's been in his element. At least not without Shavante there. Whereas, all the head pats for you, Steph. Love you and good night. Thank you. Thank you, Ruby. You, you have yourself a good sleep, alright? Also, Flowerheart, I do see your friend requests. I am always a little bit iffy on accepting friend requests from people that I just met. Hopefully you understand that. Maybe if I get to talk with you a little more, then I'll be a little bit more, you know, open to that, I guess.
Oh wait, oh I remember who we're combining is. Yeah. He does the content for ROH, right?
Yes, he does the commentary for Ring of Honor, and he also did some stuff with GCW and I think DPW, but I know that his co-com, Caprice Coleman, he is on Ring of Honor and on DPW, and DPW is essentially like a promotion that's started by like wrestling YouTubers. So it's essentially What Culture Pro Wrestling if it was actually cool.
Okay.
By the way, is everyone there VTubers? I'm a VTuber. And I think I'm the only one here that is a VTuber. Zach.
I'm a president of jar.
Yeah. Zach is a president that is sometimes in a jar, sometimes not in a jar. Sometimes he has a version of himself inside of himself. It just kind of depends on the day, really.
Yeah, it depends. Depends on my mood.
Melody is a model rigger, or at least like they make like a lot of VR chat stuff. They aren't really a VTuber, but they are an artist. So, yeah. Is shipping wrestlers a real person fiction? I wouldn't do that myself. I mean, like, I would ship their characters, right? But, like, the people themselves. Marshall is a PNG tuber. He does stream a little bit, doesn't he? If he has, I'm sorry. It's been a little bit, and I tend to be a bit of a hermit. So shipping characters is, I wouldn't say that, no. But like, I feel like when you ship wrestlers, there's a bit of a fine line there. Like you have to be a little careful because actors of characters. Yeah. Like if you ship the people, then I would say that's different. I do occasionally. I'm listening to multiple things at the moment. Sorry. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm on Ponytown right now. I'm new to Ponytown. Marshall, if you want to go and find Sleepy Kitsune, you are more than welcome to. In fact, yeah, if you could, would you please go and find them? Because I would do it myself, but you're the party owner.
Anyway,
unless you want to just shift it over. No, not anyway just yet. Why are you trying to save my map? I'm not trying to save your map. Alright. I just need to make sure that we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
Let me eat my apple here.
Nom nom nom.
Oh hey, I found wall mode. There you go. What the hell? Come on. Anyways. Continue. Anyway.
Anyway. First place. Once again is Excalibur.
Good. I enjoy him.
I will say a slogan. I was secretly hoping that Michael Cole would have won it because he's really good now.
Yeah, sure. Cycle through your OCs. Let's see him. He is really good now. I think that the fact that he's not even on the top 3 is a little bit of a snub. So, yeah, I would say that is. I'd say that's a bit of a snub. On the Academy's part, the Academy being the readers, but yes.
Yeah, they're really. Yeah, dude, that'd be like the greatest redemption arc for him, just winning Best Television Announcer. On the flip side, though, we have the worst television announcer.
Okay.
Third place. Of course, this breaks our heart, but understandable. Jim Ross.
I mean, listen, he's freaking getting old. It's fine.
Yeah.
Fine. He doesn't have to be at the top of his game at this point. He is.
Nah.
He's earned the right to not be good sometimes.
So. Second place. Kevin Patrick, when he was still with the WWE.
Oh yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
There's so many people online.
Yeah.
Holy heck! Oh yeah, this game is more popular than I thought there'd be.
Yeah. First place. Yeah, this makes sense from the clips I've seen. Booker T. From NXT.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
and like he's number 1, you said?
Yeah, for worst television announcer.
Who you recognize? I recognized a few of them. I'll admit, I don't know a lot of characters' names. So like I can say I recognize people, but I didn't quite know their names. I couldn't point them out and say, "Oh, yeah, I know such and such." You know? I'm a little illiterate when it comes to that, I guess.
Yeah, Logan. Unfortunately, I don't have. Since I don't watch NXT, I really don't have anything to say about Booker T.
Oh, hello, Kitsune. How are you?
Hello.
Nah, I don't really watch NXT either, so I don't have much to say on that front. But
yeah,
I saw like a video of him like ordering DoorDash
on the show.
Yeah, like during a commercial break, which I'm not making fun of him for. I get why they would do that. But yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Ooh, next up. Ooh, Logan, this should be interesting. Next up, best major wrestling show.
Okay. Best major
pay-per-view.
wrestling show, or rather like a pay-per-view. Yeah.
Yeah, the best pay-per-view. Yeah. If I remember, for third place, Logan, I remember you not liking this that much, but third place was AW All In.
AW All In. Okay.
Yeah, the Wembley one.
All right.
Yep. Second, AW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door. And first place, AW Revolution.
I would say Revolution's probably worthwhile being there.
Yeah.
And the second one was WrestleMania Night 1, yeah?
No, second was Forbidden Door.
Oh, okay.
And third was All In.
Forbidden Door was really good. Yeah. I would say that's like probably where you would want to be there. So, yeah. No complaints from me there. That's good.
All right. I thought you would disagree with. I thought you would disagree with All In, since I remember you not really being the biggest fan of it.
I mean, like, I would say that is a show that's carried on the strength of a main event, because like the main event was like actually incredible. The main event was actually incredible. So, yes. I'd probably say Mania Night 1 is better for third place.
Yeah.
But
yeah, same.
I would say just the significance of All In. It makes it like worthwhile of at least consideration. So, yes.
All right, on the flip side, we have worst major wrestling show, worst pay-per-view. Now this one's a bit more tricky, since I don't think, at least from all we've seen both on the WWE and AEW side, I don't think there was like for the most, I don't think there was like a bad pay-per-view like in 2023. At worst, they were just okay, which is a good thing.
yeah, exactly. I would say I'd say this year was a good batting average for like major wrestling shows. So, yeah.
That being said, third place, we talked about this earlier. Third place was World's End.
All right. I'd say that's good to put on there.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh, second place. And it's an NWA pay-per-view. Samahan from October 28th.
Can you type that in, please?
Yeah, I will. I was like, oh shit. This one. Yeah, it will load. There we go.
I've never heard of that. Wow.
Same. Alright, and first place was Crown Jewel.
Okay.
Which that was one of the ones I didn't watch, but I'm just like, I don't know, this seems like a good show, at least looking at like the matches.
I think a lot of people voted that because of just kind of like, you know, the image of it, you know, like the Saudi Arabia stuff. Which I don't think that's like unfair to judge it on that. Because like the shows by their very nature are not meant to be consequential. They're made for the Saudi government essentially. And because of that, they are it doesn't feel like anything on the shows really matters. So which is why you see a lot like of wrestling content creators have like charity drives during those shows to sort of, you know, at least make a little good out of the situation. So yeah, I would say on that basis it makes sense.
That being said, something important did happen at Crown Jewel, and that was Logan Paul winning the title from Ray.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, it did happen. At the LA Night match, yeah, shit like that. Though if you ask me, my least favorite, and find out this is the one you didn't watch, Logan. My least favorite pay-per-view of the year was actually All Out, which was the week after All In.
That was your least favorite?
Yeah, it was my least favorite.
Really?
It felt, aside from the main event with Mox and Orange Cassidy, it felt very B-showish, if that makes any sense.
I think that was really a consequence of it coming 1 week after All In. You know? I feel like hopefully they spread that out. I hope they plan that better this year, because one pay-per-view shouldn't suffer for another, especially if you're asking for $50 fucking.
Yeah, seriously.
Two $50 shows in the span of like a week. So it's a lot.
Especially if you want to do like monthly pay-per-views now, then you really have to spread that out.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, I agree with you. There.
Yeah. Now this has always been a fun one. Best wrestling maneuver.
Best wrestling maneuver. Okay.
Yeah. Third place. Oh yeah, this one's always a fun one to watch. Third place, Kenny Omega's One Winged Angel.
Okay.
Second place, Will Ospreay's Stormbreaker. First place, Will Ospreay Hidden Blade.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
You know what? Sure.
Why not?
I'll agree with you there. Why not?
Speaking
of agreeing with me there, I need to do another ad break, chat. Sorry.
Hey.
It's time for a 120 seconds minute Cheetos break, my dudes.
Raw rolls on after this.
Yeah.
You wanna do fucking Gitsy then?
Oh yeah.
Also, thanks for the hydrate.
Which is there's Gitsy.
Which one do we get this time?
Attitude.
Imagine.
So what do you think Super Mario
This is a good one.
I want to do this actually.
You want to play Attitude? You want to play Attitude, don't you?
No.
Oh no way! I know which one it is. I know you, Logan. I know which one it is.
Psygnosis offers much the same experience with In fact, the games are so similar that once again we question why this genre is so popular. We don't see any tracks that blow us out of our chairs. No huge loops, no gigantic
They wanted me to watch
launches,
Gitsy instead
no
of
driving
ads
through
for
waterfalls. Nothing imaginative. These games are supposed to be fun first and simulation second. Where's the creativity? Why not have a game where you have to find and drive to the hospital before your wife delivers her baby? Now that would be fun. Rather than compete against other racers, you'd have to avoid getting arrested by keeping below the speed limit, obeying the right-of-way laws, and not tailgating. Any foul up and the cops will pull
excuse
you
me,
over.
we're back, my
The
dudes.
best part is that you don't know how to get to your location.
Oh,
You have
that
to read
sounds
the
so
road signs
awful.
and hope you explore in the right direction. Anyway,
Does that sound fun,
Formula
chat?
One has nice, colorful
No.
graphics and a large number of tracks.
The Dark Souls
17 to
of
be
birth
exact,
control.
but it's still a jar, folks. A
Bruh.
jar all the way.
I still don't know what a jar is.
Now this is the Dark Souls of birth control.
Oh Lord.
Fucking hell! This is where I am. This right here is where I am, chat. This is where I am. How long does 13 go on for? It goes on for a little bit. It goes on for a little second there. Not as long as Formula 1 does. It's about half the time. As Formula 1 is about half the time as Mario RPG. So
Oh.
I'll wait for this to play out. I'll wait for this to play out real quick.
I was just stare at a black screen.
Signosis offers much of the same experience with Formula 1 racing. It's music to my ears, chat.
Wait, we're back from the ad break, right?
Yeah, we're back. We're back from the ad break.
Alright.
Just go ahead and
Yeah, we're still on a black screen, so should I just continue?
yeah, just fucking continue. Carry on.
Alright, now this has always been of an well, I say iffy one, but just like like real world stuff. Most disgusting promotional tactic.
Alright.
It's like third place. I forgot about this and I remembered. NWA cocaine spot on pay-per-view.
What?
Yes.
Cocaine spot?
Yes, NWA cocaine spot on pay-per-view.
I almost want to look this up. But like where are we going? We're right here, man. This right here is where it's at.
I know you're curious now, aren't you? There you go.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to switch to another account here because I don't want my oh. What? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. What? Well, what?
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us yet again, NWA Samhain's Ambassador of Macabre, Father James Mitchell.
Wow, they're
What
really
the fuck?
Whoa, they are really partying. What? Well, they lost the match, but they seem to be having a pretty good time.
Yeah. Whoa, what's going on?
Whoa, okay.
All right, well, it's definitely pay-per-view, folks.
Wow.
Hey, I want to go up there.
Can't do that on YouTube.
Wow.
It's funny because it's on YouTube.
That's sweet.
Hey, maybe there's
Uh-huh.
I don't know, but
What the fuck?
from Father James Mitchell, but I think he's a little busy, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He is partying up with the ladies
Having
and
a good time.
the newly formed Miserably Faithful. I thought that they would just be down in the dump. They must have talked to Father James
Yeah, they don't
Mitchell.
even
or
look too
got a
miserable.
little-
Hey, Logan, guess what? This was after recently the NWA signed their deals with the CW.
Of a celebration, but it remains to be seen exactly what we will see from
What?
the Miserably Faithful. I mean, Father James Mitchell abused Sal.
Miserably. This is miserable, dude. You want to talk about misery? What the fuck is going on here?
Dude, like I said, this was recent. This happened recently after the NWA signed a deal with the CW.
Why would you do this?
That's not good luck for the CW.
That's the most carny thing I've ever seen in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. This looks like the worst kind of edgy E-Fed roleplay, but real. Like, if you told me that this was something that you could find on the Fight Network for like $10, I would believe you, because this looks completely Bush League. So, wow.
Yikes.
That's
Big yikes.
insane. That's insane. You know, I just like, I don't really understand the benefit. I don't understand the benefit besides like 10 minutes on Twitter of fame, I guess. But like, I saw no one talk about it, so it really wasn't worth it. So
I saw. It's like, hey, NWA, way to potentially
jeopardize a deal.
Yeah, jeopardize your deal to CW.
I mean, they're still with them on the CW app, but
yeah.
Anyways, boop, fight, continue.
All right, second place. This is always going to be on every year. Second place, WWE continues relationships with Saudi Arabia. Yeah, obviously.
Yes.
Hey, look, I think you should know what first place is.
Give me first place.
WWE enabling Vince McMahon and him being back in power / TKO, keeping him in position of power.
Yep. Yep. Fuck Vince McMahon. Fuck him to hell. I hope that he rots. I genuinely hope he does. For like everything that he's done to this industry, for everything he's done to the people in it. I genuinely, there is no greater fate than if he was just, I want to say wiped from the history books, because that's kind of like, you know, making it so that it's just like, like he never happened, because I feel like that it needs to be known that he did happen. But like, I would say that like, just, it would not be outside the realm of possibility to say that like everything that he did, like up including like the good stuff on TV, that's like null and void at this point. You can't look on that anymore. You can't look back at that anymore. Not in the same mindset anyways. So yeah, I would say that's right on point. That is right on point to say that that's like the worst like tactic of the year.
Yeah. The thing is like, okay, yeah, are they? Yeah, it's like, are they going to give him like the Benoit treatment, basically?
I don't know. Personally, I don't really know what else you could do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, no one wants him back at this point. Nope. Also, my fucking V2 studio froze. Don't know why it did that, but it did. So, hold on just a second.
Old?
Let me just get out of there real quick. How many more of these do we have, Zach?
Not many more left.
Okay. Well, once we're done here, we're going to rate out. Because I am quite tired.
All right. So now, next we have worst television show. Logan, I am happy to report, after almost a decade, Raw is no longer the worst television show, according to Wrestling Observer.
At long last.
Third is NXT. Second is Raw. First is NWA Power.
All right.
Like, damn.
Fell off. When your goat washed.
Yeah, that's the show washed right there.
They got... Yeah, they're just washed at this point.
So congratulations, Raw, you're no longer the worst.
You're no longer the worst. You got beaten out by the show and where they're doing fake cocaine. Good job.
Yeah, good job. Next we have worst match of the year.
Okay.
The absolute pits. Third, oh god, I completely forgot about this. Because how weird it was. Shane McMahon / Snoop Dogg versus The Miz at WrestleMania.
What?
Do you remember that whole segment? from
You know what?
WrestleMania.
Yeah, unfortunately I do. I do remember that segment. I do remember that segment indeed.
And how they had to improvise because Shane
Because
got hurt.
because Shane pulled a Vince and he broke his fucking leg within like 2 seconds of stepping into the ring. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that.
Mhm.
That is the closest that he's ever followed in his father's footsteps in his whole life. Just blowing out his fucking legs before he even does one thing inside the ring. That was actually incredible.
Yeah. Second place, Tyrus versus EC3, 827.
You know, yeah, a Tyrus match being on this list is very, very apt. So, yep, deserved. Also, fuck Tyrus. So
yeah, fuck Tyrus. This first match though, Logan, it actually makes me very sad though. I understand. LA Knight versus Bray Wyatt in the Mountain Dew match at Royal Rumble.
that was his last televised match, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
God. Okay.
That makes me really sad.
Well, yeah. Just kind of like.
I understand why it's here though.
Yeah, I understand it too. But yeah, that's like more just kind of the circumstances surrounding it rather than the match itself, I think. So.
It's because you couldn't see what was going on.
Well, also just like that was his last match, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's his parting gift. And, you know, that's obviously not his fault. Because you know, health issues, they came for him. And that's very unfair. But just kind of like, you know, just like the idea that that's the last one, that's tough to swallow. So.
Yeah, it's very sad.
So yeah. Anyways, continue on.
Next, worst feud of the year. Third, Tyrus versus EC3.
Okay.
Second, I'm sure you might agree with this, Logan. The Outcast versus AEW Originals.
Yeah, because everyone just kept getting injured and they couldn't do the fucking feud. It just never started, really. And then the fucking Outcast just existed.
Yeah.
They existed. And now, like, the only thing that's really good about them now is Toni Storm. And she's completely separate from it. So.
Now they're doing the thing they absolutely hate. That you absolutely hate with Ruby.
Soho. Yes, I hate it. I hate what they're doing with her. Hate it.
This lovey-dovey shit.
Yeah. The fucking thing that she's doing, like with Parker. Not a fan.
Well,
not a fan.
Yeah, not a fan. And first place is MJF versus the Devil.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That would have been better if they just, I don't know, do something different. do something that doesn't make me think of Retribution, I guess.
Oh God.
I mean, that's essentially kind of what it turned into after a while.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And then I hate it more for the fact that, like, it's all that work, that year-long build, right? And they can do nothing with it, you know? Just a giant waste of time. Because, like,
this is how his reign ends, huh?
yeah. This is how the reign ends, and you know, like, both the major players in this feud, they're completely out of the picture. So like the only thing that the Undisputed Kingdom can really do is just kind of peter around in the mid card for however long, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways.
Oh boy, worst promotion of the year. I find funny. WWE won promotion of the year. They're still in third place for worst promotion.
Yeah.
It's funny. Second, AAA. And first, the NWA. Damn.
Fell off. I remember when they were like seen as like when they were kind of like a hidden gem. Remember? Like in the pandemic era, especially. I remember that. So like the fact that they fell so far is really crazy to me. But no. Anyways.
Best Booker. Booker of the Year. I'm just gonna say first place right off the rip. Triple H, Paul Levesque.
And then there were two. Last man standing.
Second place was Tony Khan, and third, I don't know how to say his name, so I'm just gonna copy and paste this name to you.
Okay. Give me his name. Juan Manuel Mar, or Juan Manuel Mar. What was this category?
Best Booker.
Oh, well, I'm not familiar with this person. What's their
he was in
promotion?
third. I don't know.
CMLL, AAA. What is it?
He former Mexican. He is.
I gotta stop letting that time out. I literally thought that like you went to bed, Melody, and because Zach dropped again, it was like last man standing here, and where it was just me and Featherfoot left just booping each other. At this point, our faces just have like hoof-shaped like craters in them, as we're just like, you can't bring me down, bitch. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me.
Yeah, Logan, he won third place. Looks like he works for a Mexican promotion.
A Mexican promotion?
Yeah.
Which one? Does it say?
No, it doesn't say.
Well, can you look them up and see?
I'm looking up on Wikipedia. I'm not seeing anything. It says as a Mexican former professional boxer.
Okay.
Competed from 1993 to 2014. World champion 4 weight classes. Having held 9 world. Okay, what you do?
All right, whatever. It's fine. Continue.
Yeah. Like I said, second place was Tony Khan, and first place was Triple H, Paul Levesque. Triple H won Booker of the Year.
I like to imagine because like I think Tony like got Booker of the Year ever since the start of AEW, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I just imagine him like in the episode of SpongeBob, and where like SpongeBob sees Squidward break his streak. yeah, and he like sees like he's looking at the Employee of the Month plaques, and he just sees like Triple H's face on the latest one.
Oh Lord.
I kind of envision that in like Tony Khan as SpongeBob, like having a crisis over it.
Tony Khan must be in shambles right now.
I don't know, man. Do better, I guess.
Hey, look, you want to add insult to injury? Next category: Promoter of the Year. First place: Nick Khan.
Yeah. The other Khan stole it this year. All right.
Shambles.
Absolute shambles. Yeah.
Second was Tony Khan. Third was Dana White.
Dana White. That's UFC.
Okay.
Fuck him, by the way. He shouldn't be on the top 3 or anywhere.
Yeah, Tony Khan.
No, Dana White.
Oh, Dana White. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Best gimmick. The best gimmick.
Okay.
Third place, Orange Cassidy. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Second, Christian Cage. Yes.
that should be 1, honestly. Or whatever.
Well, maybe that's the question when you heard number 1. This number 1 is Tony Storm.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Christian's right fucking there.
Right there.
Give my man his flowers. Give Christian his flowers. Fucking do it.
Who knew a character that talks about people's dead fathers would have the best
and doxes his opponent's families live on Dynamite. I
He's
love
so good.
I love the memes that come out after this week's Dynamite that just have Christian's face and it just shows someone's IP address on them. It's like actually the funniest thing.
And now look, we have the worst gimmick. Find out despite being number 2 in best gimmick, third is Tony Storm. Okay.
I guess it's
Second,
polarizing. I don't know.
Yeah. Second, QTV. Yeah, I remember that.
I'd say that's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And first, the devil. But they say the devil. I'm just like, wait, you mean Adam Cole then?
I don't know.
Is he the devil?
I
Yeah,
would have
weird.
to imagine that they just say like the devil, the gimmick of it is pretty bad. And you know, in hindsight, I would have to say yes, but I think that's primarily on the basis that they can't follow it up. You know, you spend like all this time building this up, and you know, it's your main event angle. It's the thing you close out the final show of your year with, and you can't even do anything with it because both the major players are sidelined. You can't do anything with it. The momentum's gone. You know?
Nope.
And I think that's what makes it like the worst thing, because like you just spend all this time and effort building it up and you can't even do anything with it, you know? Like that's the worst thing for me.
Yeah. All right. 3 categories left. Just 3.
All
3.
right, and then we're gonna raid out,
quick.
chat. Give me a couple of raid recommendations, like right now. If you're hearing me in chat, give me some raid recommendations.
All right. And we'll go about these real quick. First off, a best pro wrestling book. Third place, Ringmaster. Second place.
I saw that.
Oh, you saw Ringmaster?
I saw that book actually at my local library. I actually went to the public library and I found it.
Oh shit.
It's actually kind of neat. Is it the one on Vince?
Well, I don't know. It just says Ringmaster.
Hold on, let's Ringmaster. But yep. I literally saw this at my local public library. Ringmaster, Vince McMahon and the Unmaking of America.
Oh wait, look, we can't actually your screen's still
No,
black.
I know.
Okay.
Ringmaster, Vince McMahon and the Unmaking of America. I saw this book at my local public library. I didn't pick it up, but I was thinking about doing it. Heart. Okay, we'll fucking raid into Heart for a subathon. Sure.
Second place, Todd is God by Todd Gordon.
Todd is God.
Yeah, TOD.
Oh. Todd is God. How I created Extreme Championship Wrestling. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Let's do that.
And first, where's it? First, The Last Real World Champion. It's pretty much the Ric Flair book.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well. All right.
Yeah. All right. Best pro wrestling documentary.
All right.
Third place, American Nightmare, Becoming Cody Rhodes.
It's a WWE production, so I don't know. Don't know about that one, Chief.
Second, VOW, The Life, Career, and Death of Eddie Gilbert.
Okay.
And first, Dark Side of the Ring, Chris and Tammy.
Wait, is that like Chris Benoit? Hold on. I'm looking at this.
Yeah, let's look it up.
Chris Candido and Sonny.
Oh.
His love-to-hate manager as they get torn apart by infidelity, addiction, and mutual self-destruction. Wow.
Damn.
It's really crazy because, like, Sonny's still feeling the effects of that now. Like, like, she's never seen the outside of a cell at this point, you know?
Yeah,
and that's, like, crazy.
She's actually literally gonna rot in prison for like the rest of her life,
which is really sad. Just goes to show how like the industry can kind of tear people apart, especially back then, you know. But yeah. Anyways,
last one. This is more of a ceremonial award that goes out to multiple people. the Shad Gaspar / John Huber Memorial Award.
Yep.
This award is given to participants in professional wrestling and mixed martial arts who make contributions outside the ring for the betterment of society.
Basically, charitable organizations that are centered around wrestling, and of course the award is named after the late greats John Huber and Shad Gaspar, who many fans feel lost their lives way too soon. Whether it be in saving others or to unfortunate sickness in the case of Huber. So
Yep, in Shad's case, like I said, saving others.
Yeah. So yeah, a true hero, exactly.
All right, so 3 people on this. First, Steve McNeil. Oh boy.
You want me to do you want to type them out and I'll just read them, or just copy paste them?
Yeah, I'll copy paste them.
Copy and paste and I'll read them out.
Okay.
Steve McMichael, who has been battling lateral sclerosis, I believe, ever since 2021. I'm gonna this is a very kind of technical medical term. I'm gonna look it up. ALS is what he's been battling.
Okay.
He's been battling that. Has provided inspiration to those battling illnesses due to his continued determination. Excuse me. Jeez, I breathed something in there. Due to his continued determination to attend the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction ceremony after being elected to the Hall. That's right. He did. Right. He did get recently elected to the Football Hall of Fame, because before he was a wrestler, he actually played in the NFL. So I don't remember what team. Let me see. But essentially, what he has is a nervous system disease that weakens muscles and impacts physical function. In this disease, nerve cells break down, which reduces functionality in the muscles they supply. Cause is unknown. So essentially, he's just kind of losing control of himself. Steve McMichael. He played with the Patriots, the Bears, the Packers, before coming into wrestling, it looks like. He was also, he's also a Super Bowl champion at Super Bowl 20.
Oh, cool.
A 2-time first team All-Pro. I'm sure that these matter more to you, Zach.
Yes, they do.
A 3-time second team All-Pro. 2-time Pro Bowl, PFR 1980s All-Decade Team. I imagine these were all things that he was a part of.
Yeah.
Top 100 greatest Bears of all time. An unanimous All-American. So, yeah. He does have a bit of a storied career. And he also has a bit of experience as a coach. He was with Chicago Slaughter. What's this? American professional football team based in the Hoffman Estates, Illinois. I've been an actor since 2013. The franchise was a part of the CIFL. CIFL?
Huh.
Okay.
That's a different football.
That must be kind of a different league then.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially he has had a great impact on the world of sports, not just in wrestling. So in that respect, yes, I would say that he is good to get that award.
All right, here's a second one.
It's time for a 120 seconds minute Cheetos break,
after
my
this
dudes.
We're almost on after this. This is our last commercial break. Thank you to everyone who has stuck with us for this long. I know that this has just been kind of chatting, and this has been very fun. This has been very fun. It's been fun for me at least because I'm just able to shoot the shit a little bit. Hopefully y'all have been at least enjoying us talking about wrestling this whole time. Tomorrow it is official. We will be doing the Skibidi Toilet deep dive. We will be doing the Skibidi Toilet deep dive. I will be accompanied by a Skibidi scholar and my friend Blazy, and he's going to walk us through the insanity of Skibidi Toilet. So yeah, I hope that you all are looking forward to that. It's going to be really, really goofy, really real goofball bullshit right there, you know.
I'm really looking. I don't have any more Gitsy left in me.
You don't have any more Gitsy in you?
No.
No more?
No more.
Why not? No more. Just don't. You're not feeling it?
Not really feeling it.
Not feeling it? Well, then I need to shake up the thing more. Then I need to install fresh Gitsies. Well, you know what? If Zach don't got me, I know Marshall got me.
Okay. Thanks, Marshall. Please, I'll be a new one.
It's fucking Toy Story.
Excuse me, we're back, my dudes.
Oh no, Logan, this goes on forever.
I'm going to override this if that's okay. Instead, we'll do this one. We'll do Tomb Raider.
Okay.
Oh, Mayo, I wanted it again. Well, I don't want it again.
IDOS is moving up the video game food chain, considering last year's mega hit Tomb Raider. The sequel uses the same formula to great success.
I'm gonna queue up something here, chat.
Sidestepping, and of course, all new
Must we forget?
The game starts off with a peek at
Lest we forget
China.
the classic video.
The Great Wall, and a soldier notices a dagger embedded in his chest. Oddly, removing the dagger results in the dragon's death. Weird. You play Lara Croft, complete with front-loaded anvils, searching for the dagger centuries later. Your path to the dagger will take you just about everywhere, and that snow speeder kicks a major you-know-what.
I saw that.
Has slightly more action than exploration this time around, but you may not notice the difference. This is good, because that way everybody's happy. Obviously, we're giving Tomb Raider 2 a good review. We fully expected to do so. We knew the game would be great, and it is, and we've only just scratched the surface. In answer to Lara's giant earrings, however, we have a challenge to IDOS. In Tomb Raider 3, create a storyline in which Lara gets breast cancer. Imagine the drama of a vulnerable Lara Croft still persisting in her worldly adventures despite her illness. It needs fleshing out, no pun intended, but we guarantee the gaming world would be shocked, stunned, and moved at the effort to make Lara's character more meaningful. We love Lara, but it's about time the industry had a big shock for a change. It's no shock that Tomb Raider 2 is excellent. Everyone should buy it. Period. The end.
Imagine what George would have had to say about the rebooted Tomb Raider game.
Lest we forget.
Take a look.
In answer to Lara's giant earrings, however, we have a challenge to IDOS. In Tomb Raider 3, create a storyline in which Lara gets breast cancer.
Oh, God.
Anyways, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I posted the second one down there.
The Pug family. The family showed class and resiliency after the death of Jaminping, rather Jaminping, in a car accident. I'm getting this completely wrong. Pug in a car accident. Despite the driver of the other car being at fault for the accident, they publicly asked people to stop attacking them on social media and fundraise for the driver's family. That is the family of Jay Briscoe.
Oh,
that's the family of Jay Briscoe.
Okay.
Which is crazy to think that happened a year ago, but
yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's that's another example of a wrestler that was gone way too soon, because like you can tell that like him and his brother Mark, they were on the cusp of like breaking out into
Yeah.
into the more mainstream spotlight. And it's a real shame that Jay's never going to be able to see like the fruits of that. But I'm glad that Mark is getting more opportunities in order to
Hmm.
kind of sort of showcase himself, even if it's not like in a prominent role, because he's always going to be associated with his brother to some extent. But
Yeah.
at least he's able to say, that he made it to like a more national stage. So
Hmm. And this slogan is the last one.
Valerie Coleman, the widow of late Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Famer superstar Billy Graham. Coleman is credited with saving Graham's life on multiple occasions. So
Don't
that
know
was
anymore.
so that was more of just like an MVP notice, it seems like. But like,
Hmm.
you know, good on her, I would say.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of good stories about superstar Billy Graham.
Hmm.
And even though that he's not really on the level of like Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage, I would say just like the impact that he's had in terms of just the business, I would say it's probably bigger than some people realize. So, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah. I pretty much one. Well, like one of the most influential person during like the early days of pro wrestling, right?
in the pre-Hulkamania days, yeah,
Yeah.
and even a little bit during them, but he faded a little bit into the background after Hulk Hogan hit his stride. So
Mm.
yeah, I would say deserved. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's it then.
Yep. That's it. That is everything. That was this year's Wrestling Observer Awards. And you know what? Some of these were real doozies. Let me tell you.
Some of them were pretty expected. Others were not really so much. Um,
Mhm.
but
Uh,
like,
one
if
one
there's
one
one,
thing we
what
I would say one thing we did learn. We learned about the fall from grace of the NWA. That's for sure.
is that to say? Jesus, I didn't know you could stoop that low. What we learned from
Hmm.
this, besides that, well, I think I think the big takeaway is that WWE is hitting a stride again, and it's in a bitter stride. It's in like a better stride than it's been probably since the Attitude Era.
Hmm.
So I would say I would say on that basis, wrestling is pretty healthy. And AEW, um, I think that it was a year that kind of represented a bit like of a weird time for them because they weren't the critical darling at that point, you know.
Hmm.
Rather, like they weren't as much of the critical darling this year as much as they were in previous years. And I think a lot of that really does just it comes down to I would want to say a lack of focus, but like, they tried to pivot and what they did just wasn't really what people wanted, I think. Uh
Hmm.
so like I don't really know what advice I would give because I'm not a booker, I'm not like someone that's in the business. But I guess the advice I would give for is for Tony to I guess the fuck.
Wow. Navigator.
Yeah, I gotta fix this up a bit. But no. Um I would probably say that after a kind of rough year, it seems like AEW is starting to get back to where it needs to be because now it's focusing on certain people at a time. The stories are much more simple. They aren't as convoluted. Um and I feel like that's really resonating because like you have especially in the world title stuff, like you have a weird sort of character development happening with Hangman Page, and where
Faked an injury.
he's kind of turning heel almost, and it's
Yeah.
weird because he's completely in the right to do all this, so he's not even like that big a heel because the man that he is attacking literally endangered his family. So
Yeah. 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 Dude, I watched that. Like we seen Paige be like unhinged for like a good few weeks now, but after like last week's Dynamite, I'm just sitting here going, "What? Huh? This seems like something like heel. Wait, is Paige turning heel?"
I would say it's a lot more a lot more gray than just flat out face and heel. I would just say that Hangman's just like, I fucking hate this guy because he invaded my home, he endangered my family, and I can't beat him, you know? And now he's getting desperate. I don't really think it's like I don't think it's clear cut as like heel stuff. I just think that he just really desperately wants to get one up on Swerve. He's saying, you know, drastic times call for drastic measures, you know?
And like I said, so I guess this is what happens when he no longer has a support group of any kind.
Is that to say because the Young Bucks are heels again, Kenny Omega's nursing an injury again. And you know, he's kind of out of friends. And also the Dark Order are lower mid-card heels now, so you know, they're out of friends. So yeah, I would say that it's really cool to see wrestling kind of hit a stride that it's not really been able to hit for a while. And yeah, it's a real good time to be a fan. It's a real good time to be a fan, I think. So yeah.
Well, we also learned, Logan. We know how good Will Ospreay is, but he won like 6 awards in this newsletter.
He won 6 awards, yeah. Which I think is a bit excessive, but you know, who can argue with quality?
Yeah.
Anyways,
the only kind of snub I can think of from this award is Michael Cole not even being for commentator.
Now then, chat, what say we rate out to Art? I'm gonna send the message in there. First off, I want to thank everyone for friggin' being here tonight and hanging out with us. If you've not done so already, consider following the Twitch. Follow me on YouTube, or rather subscribe to me on YouTube, actually. Don't follow on YouTube, you subscribe. Check out my newest video. It is on a character we created called the Typhoon. He's trying to ruin WrestleMania 19. He's a bastard. But did he do it? Well, watch the video to find out. It's funny. It's very, very well put together. It's made by my good friend and co-worker Ty. He did a very good job on it, and he continues to fucking do fantastic work to help me make more big videos. So check it out. Leave a like, maybe even leave a comment if you enjoyed it. It really, really, really helps it out. Consider joining the Discord. It's right up there a couple messages ago. Currently, we are watching My Little Pony Friendship's Magic, but this weekend, we're going to be watching AEW Revolution 2024. It is the final match for the Icon Sting. After a 40-year career, I want to say, he is finally hanging it up in a match against the Young Bucks. And we have a whole bunch of other cool matches on there as well. Join us, join a group of like-minded wrestling fans in what is sure to be a memorable night of action. So, yeah.
Logan, I hate that you just reminded me of something.
What?
That ending segment on Dynamite with Flair.
The ending segment on Dynamite was really fun. Yes. I enjoyed Sting coming down from the rafters, honestly.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
He's selling, brother.
So, why would you drop the oh my god, Flair, please, no, don't try to act like you're punching.
Those are the weakest punches of all time.
Yeah.
But yeah, chat. What's one more Gitsy for the road? Here. One more for the road. And then, while it's playing, we'll raid out, alright?
Yeah.
What's this one? Oh, it's Gex!
Oh, we got into a Gex.
Note to self, don't drink tap water at Jerry Garcia's.
Where's
Gex.
Heart?
Enter the Gecko is Gex's second Gex game.
Man.
That will get you Gex-cited.
They're currently 62 subs into their 75 sub goal. Let's fucking top it off. Or even just go over there and show her some support from the Long Boy Club. That right there is the raid message. It is Long Boy Club raid. Thank you all once again. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate all of you. Join us tomorrow for when we do the Skippy Toilet Deep Dive. for when we do the Skivvy
superficial
Toilet
qualities are,
deep dive.
well,
It's gonna be
super.
fun. It's gonna be
The
great.
opening
I'm gonna have
cinema
my
scene is
friend.
gorgeous as expected.
Look at what I
The
pinged
graphics are
for you
good.
real
The
quick.
character is cool.
Wait, what did you
But this
ping?
game is
Oh,
just
wait.
another 3D
Wait.
romp that wishes
Wait,
it
what?
could be Mario 64.
Huh?
It's a good game, one you should check out, but not stellar. The
Oh my
game's
god,
biggest
this
fault
is so
the
cool.
camera. Arguably the worst camera ever.
Don't have much time though.
Chat, fuck this. Fuck this. Look at this. This is good. This is great. This is fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Melody. This is actually phenomenal. I'm gonna save this and it'll be in my art folder for all time. I love it. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. Whew.
Cool.
Ooh, man. Ooh, I'm be honest, Logan. Oh, what? More Gitsy?
Nope.
Oh,
No more Gitsy.
No more. I'm gonna be honest, Logan.
Yeah.
That took longer. That took longer than I thought. Going through all those awards. It's like, man, I forgot how many awards there actually are. I underestimated them. But hey, we were able to fill out over 2 hours of talking about them.
Yeah, we were actually.
Yeah. That
was fun. I like that.
Mm-hmm. We should just like every March. Let's go over these awards. Oh man, Logan, the cocaine thing that threw you for a loop.
That really did.
Yeah. Hey, what the fuck?
Zach, can you background check this lizard kid guy?
Sure.
I'm not so sure about them. Because the account that they made is literally less than 3 hours old. And usually that's a red flag for me.
Oh, new account create too. Oh, okay. Not even a picture. Alright, background checking. Well, let me Google him. Man, nothing's gonna show up.
Is there nothing there?
Wait. Hold on, let me actually.
Oh,
let me
shit.
try this again.